never came from the East End of London. I don't know where you get that, but I mean, a lot of people say I was born in number 2, St Mark's Villas, Moray Road, Islington, North London. North there, east there, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, what do you want to know, about when I went to sea or whatever, or
No,
just when I was born?
Tell us about life growing up in London, when you, right up to the period of going to sea. Just describe what it was like, what you remember about your grandparents and...
Well, my grandparents, I don't remember my granddad Langlois, but I do know that my Nana Langlois, her greatest wish in life was to live to be 100 so she could get a telegram from the Queen. She didn't make it. She died at 99. What a pity. Now, I wasn't there then, but what you've got to understand, and this is not anything about going to sea, my family, my dad's family, and the Joneses, which was my grandmother's maiden name, Joneses, they owned half of Holloway, including a pub named the Monarch, which was on the corner of Brondesbury Road. Now, Aunt Mary Ann and Aunt Polly owned one side of Brondesbury Road, and Aunt Mary Ann owned the other side. And where my Nan lived, in 164 Hornsey Road, Holloway N7, there was a block of 11 or 12 shops. Most of them were shops, but where my Nan lived, it wasn't a shop. And the great big window, flat window, in my Nan's day, that I can remember, was known as the front room. And on that particular place, my Nan had a 100-year lease. I'm led to believe, I don't know for sure, but it was round about this time, that in round about 1948, the 100-year lease had run out. And from then on, they had to pay rent. Now, I say this because Brondesbury Road with Aunt Polly and Aunt Mary Ann, and the Monarch Hotel, and all the other places, and plus all this block of shops, and it ran from Isleton Road to Tollington Road in North London. There was a pub over there and a pub over there. I only ever had one drink in there, but I don't know what I was drinking. I must have been doing it at the time. But you see, what happened was, my Aunt Mary Ann or Aunt Polly, I'm not quite sure, took in an Austrian refugee. And he must have been from before the First World War. All I know about him, that his first name was Hansel. And between the pair of them, they were my great aunts, you've got to understand that. They were my grandmother's sisters. And they, either singly or both together, sent him to college, university, and he subsequently became a pretty well-known solicitor and an accountant. Now, you probably know what's going to happen now, because what apparently did happen, and I make another point there, way back in the mid-30s, Hansel said to me one time, he said, "Honey, you're going to be a sailor." I said, "How would you know that?" He said, "Because you squint when your eyes, they all squint up in the corner." And he said, "Sailors do that." And I said, "Oh, I don't, do they?" You know. Anyway, one thing led to another. And Hansel, being a solicitor and an accountant, looked after my great aunt's affairs. And what happened was pretty obvious. Signed this great aunt Mary Ann and great aunt Polly, and and they signed everything away. So consequently, Hansel finished up with the riches of the Langlois family and the Jones family, and we finished up with the other end of that stick to tell you about. But Hornsey Road was a strange thing. You know, you've got to remember, I'm going back now, this is way, way before I went to sea. Back in those days in North London and in East London, as far as I know, and South London and West London. Oh no, not particularly West London. They didn't have baths. And you used to have to tub off in a bowl. And just down the road from us was Hornsey Road's baths. And you go in, and when you went in, there was a swimming pool there as well, but all the way inside was great big cubicles with a great big bath inside and a locked door. And you go in and you pay a penny if you have a bath. And you knock on the door and you say, "Number 5, more hot." Or "Number 5, a little bit of cold." And you can imagine that, because they didn't have baths, you see. And that went on for a long, long while. And as a matter of fact, I said to my darling baby sister, she's 78 years old, and I said, "Did you ever get down to have a look at Hornsey Road?" And she said, "Hornsey Road?" "Yes, of course, but there's no such place as Hornsey Road now. It's a great big arterial road. They just knocked everything down." And we had another place there, I remember distinctly, and I might ramble a little bit here. My uncle Howard's boy, Brian, when I came home from sea, I used to take him to Finsbury Park and row him for sixpence. You could row around Finsbury Park Lake, and you could row around for an hour, whatever. And I said to my darling sister, "And what about Finsbury Park? Is that still there? You know, you said Hornsey Road's gone." She said, "All I know is there is a mosque there now, and it's humongous," to quote her word, humongous mosque. Now, obviously I can't swear, but now what the frickin' hell's happened to my old country? Finsbury Park and a mosque, for Christ's sake. Now, I'm not racist, there's no doubt about that. But when are they going to stop building mosques? I mean, we're going to have one in Blacktown in about 2 weeks' time. Oh, it's amazing. You know, I don't have no church.
Join the clan.
But if you look at it, there was a bloke in the States, and he used to say, Marjorie Dresner or something, "Life gets tedious, don't it?"
Yes.
But you see, I want a song played at my funeral, and I can't think of it now. That's the trouble with getting on a bit. Life gets beautiful, don't it? No. What is it? It's something about life. Never mind. But you see, you talk about history. I had no idea we were going to talk about this sort of history.
Well, actually, we intend to go right through everything, the social, the industrial, political, every part of history you can record.
Oh, well, I can, mate.
Okay, but
Alan, you know me well enough to know that what I can't remember, I'll make up.
Well put.
You are a very inventive boy.
But you see, Alan and another great old mate of mine, and they were both good raconteurs, let me tell you. And they always reckoned that I could tell better tales than Hans Christian Andersen. But I got news for them, because they were better than me, although they never knew it. But you see, I've always said there's 2 things that people should understand are quite valid, and they are this: never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
That's right, mate.
And always tell it the way it should have been and not the way it was.
That's right.
But the other one that's more important, you see, regarding truth. Truth is relative. Honesty is absolute.
Yeah.
You can freak around with the truth or fuck around with it as much as you like, but honesty,
yeah,
No way, mate. That's it. It's got to be spot on.
That's right.
Well, actually, you had some relations that were involved with the barges, the Thames barges, and you had a bit of opportunity to go in.
No. I didn't have any relatives. I just I went to sea. In fact, on the Vigilant.
Well, can you tell us about the beginning, how you got onto the barge? Beginning of your
I just
seagoing
went down and got a job. That's
Simple
what we
as
did
that.
in those days.
Mm.
And people say to me when I talk about the fact that I went to sea when I was 13, well, that wasn't unusual in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, and I made that, the Royal Navy only had one training ship, and that was the HMS Ganges. If you hadn't been appointed as a boy to the Ganges before you were 13, you were too old. You had to wait then and join the Royal Navy as a boy at 14, right? So going to sea at 13 wasn't unusual at all.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, it was accepted. Nobody said, oh, you know, what are you at 13?
Yeah.
And then, of course, when the war came on, oh, you're only 16 or 17 or whatever. Nobody gave a shit. It was a job to be done, and you did it.
Yeah.
And that's all there was to it.
Did you ever have eye trouble as a child?
Oh, I wore glasses from a long while, but I had shrapnel in this eye, and we're not going to talk about them. But, you know, there's scars all over. As a matter of fact, I'll have to tell you this. I have a problem which is I'm rather prone to a couple of strokes, or what they call epileptic seizures. Now, they can't make out what it is, but the scary part about these things is you just don't know what's happened to you. Now, you see, that's where the problem comes. I was going to tell you about something, now I've forgotten what the fucking hell it was. And that's not unusual. What would remind me of?
No, actually, the question was, were your eyes weak as a child?
No.
Did you have to wear glasses?
Oh, I wore glasses, yeah, but not my glasses. But
They
they
didn't
were.
restrict you going to sea?
Oh no. I've got my what's the name in there, and it's okay. When I first went to sea, they gave you an eyesight test, and it was passed okay.
Okay, well, yeah.
And I didn't wear the glasses in those days.
Okay, well, you begin your
Right.
career as a seaman.
Well, career. I love that fucking word. Career. You know, at 52 years, I suppose one can say that I wouldn't have lasted that long if I'd known it wasn't going to be fucking permanent. But, yeah, well, I went to sea as a boy on the Vigilant. I didn't stay there very long, I might add. But the Thames spritsail barges, or sailing barges, or they had no motors, of course, so they had to do something else. And they used to sail from South East India Dock down to Colchester and Chelmsford mainly. Now they were fairly hefty, big vessels for handling, and when you'd sail just to Chelmsford and Colchester, there was generally the skipper and two boys, sometimes skipper and three boys. But then sometimes when they got down to Colchester and discharged their cargo they picked up in South East India Dock, then they'd be discharged into other bigger vessels that were going other places, either overseas or around the coast or coastwise. But these spritsail barges quite frequently, well, not infrequently, put it that way, went over to Amsterdam and Rotterdam and Antwerp. And in that case, they put two or maybe three ABs. They were easily handled jobs. But what you got to understand, and I like telling this story because you sail from the sail, and what you sail on the tide. Now you've already heard, if you're old sailors, you've heard you sailed on the tide. Well, you sailed from the South East India Dock, and you sailed on the tide. And subject to the wind, you catch the tide or sailed down, and your first stop at the change of tide was generally at a place called Rainham, Rainham, Rainham. and that's where you drop the pick for overnight to wait for the change of tide. Now I'll have to tell you this, because we hear a lot out here in Australia about recycling of water. Now, as I pointed out to Wayne just a while back, my dad from 1933 for 2 or 3 years was the chairman or the mayor of Dagenham, which is a place in Essex. Now I remember all these things because it was a wonderful time of my life, and as I said on my 80th birthday party, you know, I came from a very, very loving family. There was my mum and dad and my 3 sisters. We'd already lost a couple of brothers, but I don't remember them. But it was a loving family, and the only problem they ever had was me. But it didn't bother them, not in one little bit, because I suppose I might have been a bit of an arsehole, but I was a nice arsehole. I suppose you could put it that way. But as a matter of fact, at one time when I was about 9 or 10, I fell out of a tree. And it must have been in 1933 or 34 or something like that. And I fell out of the tree and broke me left leg. And I've got a photo in there where what begins with the C, what the calcium has formed over. But it wasn't because my dad was the mayor of Dagenham, but I never do things by half. I came out of a tree all right, and I landed on my arse. I didn't land on my arse, I broke my leg. And they had to get the ambulance, the fire brigade, and the rescue services to get me out. And they put me in to Old Church Hospital. And the reason I tell you this is not because of my broken leg, but as you went in the main gates of Old Church Hospital, and you've got to remember this is around about 33 or something like that. It might have been a bit earlier. As you go in, there was the alms houses. Now, thank Christ, people don't know what you're talking about in Australia now when you talk about alms houses. They're poor houses. And as you go in, people in those days used to travel up and down England, the tramps, but whole families. And they go into this poor house or the alms house, and they give them a feed and a bed for a night's kip, and then they'd be on their way again to another almshouse down the road within walking distance. You see, all these things, they're changed. And thank fucking Christ they've changed. But they haven't changed by whatever the government of various persuasions have done. It's what we, the workers, have done that have changed this. And I can remember that going back, way, way back. Of course, you've got to understand, we were talking about going to sea in the Vigilant. And I was going to tell you about when you got to Raynham, that was a place for the name of a Raynham Sewerage Farm. S-E-W-E-R-A-G-E, Sewerage Farm. And believe it or not, it was a sewerage farm. And they grew the most magnificent tomatoes, onions, lettuce, all on the sewage part of it. Now, Raynham sewage. It comes in a ship at this end, and it goes through agitators into a whirl around and blah, 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 blah. Now, you have a guide, and when we got down to just about 10 metres up from the River Thames, that's where the River Thames is at Raynham. I thought you would have known that, Al, the River Thames, you know. And it's unlike the Yarra. At least it's a river, not like the Yarra.
I can edit this, you know.
Yeah, too thick to walk on, not thick enough to plough, but too thick enough to walk on, yeah.
Well, when did you...
Wait a minute, I haven't finished.
Oh.
Anyway, and when you got down to where the tap was, the guide or the mentor or whatever, he'd open the tap. Now, you've got to remember, this all come through from the shit
Yeah.
and sludge and blah, 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 agitators, and quite a lot. And indeed of nourishing the fruit and vegetables. And he'd turn on a tap. Now, there'd be quite a few people. There was me and my dad, naturally, and some other fairly important people. And he'd open up the tap, put the glass underneath and go, beautiful. Whichever way a Cockney says beautiful. He might not have been a Cockney anyway, but of course, incidentally, you probably don't know that, but you see, a Cockney is a man or woman born within the sound of Bodell. Well, that's impossible because they moved the bells to Kent many, many years ago, and they kept them there safe from the war. Bow Bells is in Kent, so it means if you come from Kent or Kentish man, you're also a cocko. Because the Bow Bells haven't been in Bow for a long, long while. Now, what was I talking about then?
The shit
You're
farm.
in the sewage farm. I think.
Right.
Right. Let's get out of the sewage farm.
Yeah,
Right.
you're up to your neck in shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No, you're in the shit farm.
And then he would get out, and I mean, he was all prepared for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he'd get another glass of water, and he'd get out a litmus paper. That's the right word,
Yeah.
litmus paper. And he'd put the litmus paper into the water that had come through all this, what's the name, and proved that the water that was coming through the sewer was far more pure than the water that was being supplied in London.
Yeah.
Now, Frank Sartor, I've been trying to get on 2GB and 2UN, nobody wants to listen to me. I want to let them know what they did in Raynham. Anyway, now we're back to Raynham on the barge with the on the anchor. Now the change of tide would come around, and we're on our way to Chelmsford or Colchester, as I already told you. And generally, you probably do maybe 1 or 2 trips a week, subject to wind and tide and all that sort of stuff. But when you change at Raynham to wait for the tide, you'd up the pick and put the spritsails up, and your after sailed as well, because they had one down aft too, only one mast of course. And if there was no wind to take you, or the tide was fairly weak, you get out what was known as sweep oars. And they were about 40 foot long with a big paddle on the end, and you'd row the fucking thing down the Thames. Now people used to say, Jesus Christ Almighty, how did you do that? Easy, you just go like this. Skipper on one side, me on the other. But talk about the demarcation. Democracy. The skipper lived aft in a cabin, and I lived forward in the dog hutch. And I was the cook and the steward and everything else, you know. But that's life, ain't it? You know, we're going to tell you about this other thing that... and is it all right to introduce a little bit of humour?
Yeah.
Well,
It's your story, mate.
well, I like these sort of stories because they're pretty good. There was an Irish priest, Mick. I assume that's a fair enough name for an Irish priest, Mick. And Yoel, or Izzy, was the rabbi. And Mick was absolutely determined to convert him to the true religion, which was Christianity. Obviously, if you're a rabbi, you're a you.
Yeah.
You. Anyway, and Izzy would have nothing to do with it until one day they're walking down round the cross. What's that, Darling Street Road? Darling Road, is it? Well, what's the King's Cross Road?
Darlinghurst.
Darlinghurst, yeah. And Mick looked across the road and saw Izzy, and he said, "G'day, Izzy!" And Izzy said, "Hang on, Mick, I'm coming across." And he went across the road, and as he stepped off the curb, he got skittled by a bloody yellow cab. And Mick, the Irish priest, ran over to him and he said, Izzy, are you all right? And Izzy said, "Of course I am." He said, "Well, I'm glad to see you converted. At the moment you thought you were going to meet your maker, you converted." He said, what do you mean? He said, I saw you. You went like that. That's Christianity. And he said, Christianity me ass. Spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. Just checking. And the same is he said, Mick said to him, would you like to come? He said, I'm running a lot of young boxers. And he said, oh, well, what do you want me to do? He said, well, I wondered if you'd like to come and see him fight, box. And he said, yeah. He said, I suppose I would, yeah. So he went, Izzy turned up and Mick saw him and he said, well, come in here, Izzy. He said, I'll show you around a little bit. He said, this is this and this is that and blah, blah, blah. And Izzy sat through about 3 or 4 fights. And Mick said to Izzy, what do you think of them, Izzy? He said, by geez, they're not bad. He said, but one thing I can't figure out. And Mick says, what's that, Izzy? He said, but every time your boxers get in the ring, they kneel down and cross themselves. Why do they do that? He said, don't worry about that, Izzy. If they can't fucking fight, it won't help them one little fucking bit. Now, I suppose you've heard that before.
Yeah, but what was your first ship then after this?
Vigilant. Then I joined a ship called one of McAndrews of London.
What age were you then?
Oh, going on to 14, I suppose. And I was a Bazan. And I learnt very, very early in the piece that the sea, they could be quite a vicious taskmaster. Because on the way up north, up to the Med, I think it might have been north, I'm not quite sure, but we're on the way up to the Med, and we're coming across the bay. Now the bay, you've got to understand, is where the North Sea and the Atlantic meets. And they get some dreadful bloody weather in the Bay of Biscay. And we lost a man over the side on the Bazan. Nobody bothered. They appeared to me that didn't be bothered because nobody went back for him. You couldn't do nothing about it. Just lost the man, that's it. And apparently that's the way it was in those days. And as Aussie Alien will tell you, it happened in sail too, because if you went over the bloody wall and you were in sail, you couldn't come about. And you couldn't put the boat down, otherwise you'd fucking probably lose the boat and the whole crew. So, ta-da, Joe. See him later. Because Aussie was a great mate of mine. He did 5 trips to Frisco in the Pamir. And I can remember saying before he died, he said, Billy, he said, one thing about it, he said, Rogerson's gone, he said, me and you, he said, we must be the only pair left to fucking in sail over in this country. He said, there's a few over in New Zealand, a few in Pommyland, I suppose. But over here, there must be only 2 of us. As a matter of fact, a great mate of mine, Alan Oliver, said to me at the last World Maritime Day, Bill, you've got to say something about the old scalies. Aussie Ailing, Alan Rogerson, Ponty Jones and all that sort of stuff. And I said to Al, why can't one of the other blokes do it for you? There must be some of them. He said, Billy, you're the fucking last. Well, I don't know whether I should appreciate that. Anyway, we went to the Bazan. Then I went into Union Castle Mail Steamship Company. But prior to that, and I think...
From here on in, we'll just leave you explain your life before you got to Australia, ship by ship. You just tell us what ship you went to from where. We'll just leave it to you. You tell us what you think. What you think is most important.
What I'll have to tell you about is the fact that in my early life, and these are things that I'm quite proud about. Not quite proud, very proud about. When I was about 15, I was a junior ordinary seaman on the Basilisk, SS Basilisk. And she was a blockade runner in the Spanish Civil War. Now obviously I don't have to tell you what side we were on, but the people we were running supplies to were those that were fighting Franco, a fucking fascist that lasted for 30 odd years despite the democracies such as the US of A, the Excited States and Britain and all the rest of them, 30 odd years. And how many people know that from 36 to 38 was the beginning of the Second World War? Because the Germans practiced their Condor legions and the Italians practiced their Italian flying, and that was the beginning of the Second World War. And don't let anybody ever tell you anything different. Anyway, you can edit this, you tell me, Wayne.
No, it doesn't get edited, mate. I just said when you were talking about the Yarra, I can edit that part.
Right. You're not from down there. You're from up there.
Yeah, but I live down in Melbourne now.
Well, you tell them I said so. That'll fucking fix that up.
Okay, mate. No, we don't edit it, Bill. That's what we said. It's in the Merchant Seaman story in his own words, and we don't touch it.
In his own words.
Yeah.
In his own right.
Yeah, in his own right too.
Anyway, we got to the Gloucester Castle, and you got to remember in those days. And I can't remember the dates, except for the fact that when I was the blockade runner in the Spanish Civil War, and that was around about when I was a bit over 15. And when I was 16, I joined the Young Pioneers, which was the youth side of the SPGB. Now the SPGB means Socialist Party of Great Britain. And in our early stages in Australia, when I first joined the Union and prior, quite a hell of a lot of our officials, including Broken Nose round the west and Johnny Connor.
It wasn't Broken Nose, it was Brutal Face.
Oh, well, Broken Nose, Brutal Face, same thing, yeah. Ronnie Turd, you mean? Yeah, and John Connor were all members of the SPGB, Socialist Party of Great Britain.
Yeah.
That's when I became a socialist. And I don't know whether it was conviction or because I'd been in a blockade run in the Spanish Civil War. But I retired at 65, a committed socialist. I'm now 84, and one thing I'm very, very proud to say is that I'm still a committed socialist. My dad was the local branch secretary. I'm not quite sure whether it was Romford or wherever it was, but anyway, my dad was the local branch secretary of the SPGB. And that got him into a lot of bother, because as I pointed out, he was the mayor of Dagenham, or the chairman of the Dagenham Urban District Council. And as such, he was a member of the British Labour Party. But he never, ever gave up his belief in socialism. And I can remember me saying to him when I aspired to communism, way, way back, he said, son, he said, it may be only a choice of words or the meaning of words, but I'm a socialist. And all you got to understand, from my point of view, communism is brutalised socialism. Now, I don't know whether that's true, but I was on Russian convoys. As a matter of fact, one Russian convoy, when we went to Kola Inlet, Nova Zemlya, I was blown off a gun platform and landed on my back, and I still have a problem with it. But when we got into Nova Zemlya, the Royal Navy medics did a wonderful job too. They were wonderful blokes. Came aboard to fix up the wounded. And this potty officer said to me, he said, where did you land? I said, on me back. He said, geez, it must have hurt. I said, it bloody well did. I said, as a matter of fact, it fucking well did. And he said, well, mate, it's just as well you never land on your head, you'd have sank the fucking ship. No, I don't know whether he was trying to tell me I was a bit of a hard head. But one of the things that I distinctly remember, I went, pardon me, I got a frog in my throat. It might have been a sea otter. When I was in Moscow for May Day, I couldn't figure out, we had two interpreters, and the leader of our troop, I can't remember his name now, but he was a pretty decent sort of a bloke. And 80, when the kids, what was the nickname for the Moscow Olympics? Bindi, the bear.
Oh, yeah, I forget. Yeah.
Mishka.
Mishka, yeah, that's it.
Mishka. When we were on our way down from Moscow airport to Berlin, he came out. And can I go and get this for you?
Yeah.
Mishka. He came down, and that's for my kids. 1980, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been Mishka. Not bad, eh?
Yeah.
And they never charged me any bloody excess baggage neither. But he came over and I was amazed.
Yeah.
But what you've got to understand is that I couldn't figure out, I had two interpreters and Bob Cram was with me. Now, I'm not too happy about it, I don't want to go into it too deeply, but he came under me when we were having a drink in the Metropole Hotel, which is the only 4 or 5 star hotel in Moscow on Lenininsky Prospect, the Metropole, top hotel. And Bob Cram come up to me and said, well look, I'm not going to be able to do GDR with you. And I said, why is that, comrade? He said, I've got to be called up for home. Very, very important. And I said, oh, well, that's a bloody pity. But it wasn't too bad because when I got to Berlin, they had made arrangements to have a car each and an interpreter each. So I finished up with 2 beautiful German interpreters and 2 dreadful German cars. But they weren't bad. And then we went down to Vonneman, and there's another story there, Alan, as you probably know about the smooth flight. But Bob Cram said, no, I've got to go back home. I said, oh, well, that is a pity. I was looking forward to going around Berlin and other places with you. When I subsequently got back to Australia, now he was an official of the Miners' Union. I'm not being critical, I'm just making a statement of fact. When I got back and I was speaking to a couple of mates of mine, like Pat Garrity and stuff, an official of the Miners' Union, he finished up with the coal commissioner. And I thought that rather fucking strange, to say the least. Watch my lips. But however, that's what it is. I mean, I would never be a representative of the fucking ship owners. Neither would you, Wayne. Neither would my mate Alan Oliver. Neither would Al Allport. Because we knew our course was set, and it wasn't on that fucking side. We were that side. But so what? Anyway, when I went to Union Castle Mail Steamship Company, you've got to remember that some of these places, people probably wouldn't even know where they are. I mean, how many people would know Labita Bay, Walvis Bay? Obviously, you know Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, East London and Durban, but how many would know the other side? Beira, Lourenço Marques, in one of the poorest countries of the world, Mozambique, which, when I was talking about it, was governed by the Portuguese. And mate, let me tell you, they are the worst bastards in the fucking world as colonisers. Oh mate, They've never got the whip out of their hand, and they do it to us too. As a matter of fact, we had photographs of a little fireman that got stoushed like a fucking son of a bitch. And me. And about 14 of these fucking pork and beans coppers were fucking giving us a go. And we gave them a fucking pretty good go. And then they dragged us up the fucking gangway and let us go. But pork and beans, mate, oh mate, they were bad bastards. Not all Portuguese are like that, of course.
Yeah.
Just these coppers, oh mate,
Yeah.
bad bastards. Bad bastards. But Lorenco Mark, I'm not quite sure that's where I got out of the Law Hill. In Byra or Lorenco Marks. Whatever. You've got to know.
Where did you join the Law Hill, Bill? She was the last Cape Horner, virtually.
Oh, I wasn't I didn't go around the Cape in her. No.
Where did you pick her up?
Alan, you might think this strange. I don't know whether I picked her up in Cardiff or Canada. Or I can't. Alan, this is quite strange.
Yeah.
You know, in '84, but these things I can remember just like that. And Alan, you and I, we sailed together 20 or 30 years ago, and you know that my memory was always good, but now the memory hasn't gone.
Well, did you jump or did you leave legally the Law Hill?
I skinned out.
Skinned out.
As a matter of fact, and I'm a bit crooked about Tasmanians ever since, I forget his name now, and he said, don't worry about this, Billy. He said, we hadn't been paid. Couldn't get a sub, hadn't been paid. And he said, oh, fuck this. He said, we'll get out. He said, no, I'm going to get out. I said, well, that's what I'm going to get out. And he said, and I'll be with you, Willie. But when she left Byra, I'm on the walk of my fucking own, and he'd sailed back to Australia. Tasmania. Love it. I never ever saw him, thank God. If I'd have seen him ever go after that, I'd have strangled the bastard. But
Well,
anyway.
They're not real Australians anyway, are they, from Tasmania?
Oh, well, I don't know, mate. I have to be very, very careful here because I was an instructor at the Australian Maritime College.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
We won't hold that against you.
Well,
Bill, I'm jumping around a bit, but when did you first join the NUS?
NUS?
Yeah.
When I first went to sea, I've been an active trade unionist from 1936 until I retired in 1988.
And how did you find them?
The NUS? Well, I always got a firm belief that you always leave a place a better place than it was when you first got there. But it wasn't all that it was supposed not to be. The officials didn't give a shit. They were by and large, they were representatives of the boss. But in the Royal Albert Dock, there was a company down on the side called Federal Boats and New Zealand Shipping Company. And a bloke down there, Reggie Reid, believe it or not, what have I got on?
Don't know.
Oh, never mind. Reggie Reid. And he had a little office on the port side as you go down in Royal Albert Dock. And Reggie Reid always used to go to work in black coat and striped pants, you know that?
Yeah.
And I was speaking to another seaman who I had a bit of time for. His name's Freddie Ross. He was a master and he's now something, for many, many years, he was something to do that took the guild from being nothing to being something. And he said, do you remember Reggie Reid? And I said, yes, I remember Reggie Reid. And he said, mate, he's something, he ran two companies. From this office would be no bigger than that little bit of my background here.
Yeah.
And he'd send you everywhere, around the world. Reggie Reid, yeah, I can't forget that sort of thing. But then, after the war, because I've spoken about the Russian convoys.
You only just glossed over the Russian convoys. What were they like in the convoys?
Well, as I said about Alan Allport when I did his eulogy, when he was running up onto the American small ships. It wasn't the fucking safest way to earn a fucking quid. And let me tell you, that's for fucking sure. But, you see, I'm strictly a fundamentalist. If it's got to be done, you fucking do it. And you do it to the best of your ability. You know, on that tape, as I've told you, I'm proud of the fact that I was a bosun for over 40 odd years and I never ever gave a man a job I wouldn't do myself. And that includes up to the armpits in shit. Whatever's got to be done, you fucking do it. And you know that, Al. We did it when you and I were together in the Caldex Moscow.
But in the Russian convoys, you must have lived for weeks and weeks at a time, living with the fact that any minute the Germans could have clobbered you.
Oh, well, all the way up and all the way back, yeah.
So how did that affect the crews and the...
No problem.
None?
No problem.
Yeah.
We were all fucking old poms. What are you talking about?
Were you in PQ-17 convoy?
No. PQ-17, no. That's the one that lost 23 ships.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost enough. Don't worry. JW-51B. We lost. We were attacked from North Cape with cannon fire and ship fire. You see, what you got to understand, when you come round the North Cape, they hit you with everything. Submarines, water transport, shore cannons, shore whatever. But a great mate of mine, who I should ring was Reggie Reid. He was a Royal Marine engineer. And he was based on Iceland for just over 6 months. And we got to talking about this one particular day. You've got to remember that there were quite a few places used to assemble the convoys. Loch Ewie in Scotland, and then you come down to Reykjavik. But remind me of this about, but when I was on the JW, on the Daldork, one of Paddy Henderson's of Glasgow, she loaded in the Royal Albert Dock. And it was, whatever was where it was going, it was stamped. Oh, so everybody knew we were going to a Soviet convoy, Russian convoy, you know.
So much for the secrecy.
So much for the secrecy. Now, what was I talking about now? Tell me.
The Russian convoys.
Yeah, but you asked me, I asked you to remind me of something.
No, it was PQ-17, but you weren't in that convoy.
No.
But
You're talking about engineer mate of yours.
Reg Wiley.
Reggie Wilding, yeah. And he said, Billy, he said, he's a comrade too, you see. And us comrades refer to each other as comrade.
That's right.
Because unlike a lot of other people, we consider it to be the correct way to address a fellow communist as comrade. That's it. No ifs, no buts, no bullshit, just comrade. And he said, well, Billy, he said, it's got me fucked. He said, you know, I was there for 6 months, he said, and I don't ever recollect an Icelander speaking to me by choice or whatever, unless it was, pardon me, or whatever. They never ever spoke to us. And he said, what's got me fucked is how you didn't lose more ships when you assembled at Reykjavik. Because I am pretty fucking damn certain that they would get the message across, 32 ships assembling Reykjavik Harbour, blah, 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 and sent straight over to the Jerrys. And I said, well, you know, I suppose that could be true, but we got there. Oh, well, a lot of people say they did 3.5 convoy. How the fucking hell can you do 3.5 convoy? You've got some coming back.
Yeah.
But people don't realise that. But one particular bloke, I was telling him when I first went to sea, and I deep sea, and my wages were a princely sum of £18 sterling per year. And this saucy bastard said to me, he said, but that was food and all. I said, let me tell you, mate, you never fucking saw seagulls fucking following a rope in a boat.
Yeah.
And you see, then you got to explain that to them, so you're fucked for the rest of the day because everything you say they don't understand.
Yeah. So you never lost a ship underneath you?
I know. Oh, I've lost a couple of ships underneath me, but I mean...
Now, here's one question I've asked the bloke before. The minute the ship sunk, what happened to your wages?
Wait a minute. Un momento, amigo.
Okie dokie, comrade.
That statute was on the books until September 1942 or September 43. Prior to the war, if you foundered, and I was on a ship that foundered, the Millpool, the moment you unhooked the lifeboats, your wages stopped. That's it, you weren't part of the crew anymore. How could you be? You weren't on the ship.
Yeah.
That wasn't changed, wasn't taken out of the statute books until September 1942.
It was also in the American law too, the Yanks.
Well, I don't know, they followed Britain anyway, but they
changed about the same time as Britain.
Yeah. But, you know, when you talk about history is a fascinating subject. As I pointed out, that a lot of people, when they've forgotten all their history, they start making up. But there's not need to do that. If you're fair dinkum, there's no need to do that. And I think my old mates like Al and you too, I hope, Wayne, and certainly your dad, Frank Finch, and tell him I said, and he can get fucked for that 40 fathoms of fucking 4-inch fucking line.
I'll show him this and you've just told him yourself.
Here's the bloke that sent me down, I got it. He said, you're going aboard there? Oh, mate, you've got no fucking idea, Wayne. I go aboard, what was that ship? What was the ship we were on?
Hang on,
No, with the ship that and then you said you're the bosun. And when he got all his folly on it. The big gangway thing.
Oh, that was the John Hunter.
John Hunter. Was it John Hunter?
Mm.
Anyway, when we got, Billy said, you're the bosun. I said, oh, well, geez, I'm not going to be here for that fucking long. He said, well, you can do something anyway. And he said, they haven't changed. He designed a gangway, and they called it Ollie's Folly.
Mm.
And he said, well, first thing you do, you can change them fucking slings. They haven't been fucking changed. They're going to kill some poor bastard. So the first thing I'd do was, and I ran out of fucking rope. And we were in Townsville, Brisbane, Cairns, one of them ports up north. And your father was in the region, was it? What was the name of the thing?
It's called Cluth Oceanic.
Cluth Oceanic.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's Gladstone.
It was in Gladstone.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alan said, we've got to do this. I said, well, I'm running out of fucking rope. Bang. Fucking Finch is down there. And I said, he fucking owes me a fucking few things too. So I go down. I said, I want a bit of fucking 4-inch rope, Frank. He said, right, how much do you want? Like these key rings.
Yeah.
Thinking I was going to say about 4 or 5 fathom, and I said 45 fucking fathom. And he said, oh Jesus! So we made it all up, and I renewed all the slings on Ollie's Folly, Ollie's Trolley, or whatever it was. And your father now says, where's my fucking rope? But your dad and I go back years and years. You know, I don't know whether you know this, but when he married your mum, Folly, that's when he first moved to Kyogle.
That's right, yeah.
And then they started having kids. Are you the oldest?
Uno.
You're the oldest, aren't you?
Numero uno.
Yeah, numero uno, that's right. Well, there was a big blackboard outside in the Menunda or the Manura, whatever it was. And I said, naming Finch's kids. And we ran a raffle. Whoever got it right, somebody got it right, and then they called you Wayne. And then we said, well, that's a fucking dreadful fucking name.
Oh, thanks, mate.
No. But they won the raffle. But you see, things have happened. I can remember one particular time on the Manura. I was relieving both, and in both the Menunda and the Manura. And on the Manura, what was it? What was the bosun's name there? Jim. He was knocking off the stewardess.
On the Manura?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway. And he said, well, Billy, he said, you know, the missus don't go with the fucking. I said, well, that's no fucking problem. But, and this is strange, Dave Dacre was his name, and I'll never forget it because his sister was a movie actress. And they'd introduced Dave and me, and she referred to us as being not bad looking, handsome in a brutal sort of fashion.
That was many moons ago, was it?
Oh, well, it goes back a fucking bit, yeah, about in the early 1950s. But anyway, that's not the point. All the passengers, the derrick used to have to lasso the gear and trice them in, you know. And all the passengers would come up and watch you when you're doing the mainmast, which was big. And I don't know how it happened. But Dave Dacre had said some fucking thing, and he gave me a bit of an half clipping. And I said, fucking Dave, you've picked the wrong fucking bloke to do that to. I mean, this is going through my mind. So I gave him a bit of a fucking thrashing. And he ran up the fucking mainmast and sat on the fucking table. And all the passengers were here. And Jack Knight was there, was the mate. And he said, you don't have to put on a fucking turnout like that. He said, I saw it all. And he said, I know it's not your fucking fault. He said, what's he fucking doing up on the table? I said, he's scared I'm going to fucking give him some more if he comes down. A great bloke, Dave Dacre. Can you remember him? No. Dave Dacre. Pommy. No. Geordie, I think he was. Now you're talking about Geordies. I was in a ship called Tudor Star, and we tied up for some sort of repairs at a place called Hebburn. That's on the Newcastle River Tyne, going up towards Newcastle. Now you weren't talking about Geordies. Now I don't ever recall having any problems with Geordies. Always Scotsmen for that, with broad accent, but Geordies in particular. And one bloke said, well, how do you do that? He said, well, when they're talking to me, if I think I know what I'm saying, I cross nod once. If I don't think what I'm saying, I nod twice. But in Hebburn, they're not too bad. But over the road, over the Tyne, there's two places called Commissioner Staith and something else. They're big coal, what's your name? And believe it or not, these ones up here are Scots Geordies, and these ones down here are Irish Geordies, and they don't understand each other. And you know, one of us fucking Pommy's got a bit of a problem. Anyway, now, I skinned out in New Zealand, like Jimmy Harvey. Which one did I skin out of? Oh, fucking Jesus, I don't know. But at one particular stage, I paid off in Panama. This is all coming back to me, and I joined a ship called the Legado, one of PSNC, Pacific Steam Navigation Company, and used to run backwards and forwards up and down the canal. And as I told my children, my grandchildren and my wife, one of the senior sisters at the US Army Hospital that I was in Panama said, it's a pity you're going out now. If you'd have been here another day, we'd have sent you back to the States and you would have become an American citizen. And as I say to my family, thank Christ I didn't hold me fucking, what's your name? Otherwise, like everything else, things would have changed. Yeah. But how can you change? I mean, my missus and I, we've been married over 56 years. And a lot of people don't live that long. But we still talk. Correction. We don't still talk. She yells at me. And I'm quite happy about that too. Because, you know, we've had our grandchildren since David was 6-year-old, and I'm so proud of him. But I'm also proud of my daughter and my son. He went to sea as well, but he's been now retired on a disability pension for the last 3 years, and he's only just turned 50. And he's also got asbestosis. But that didn't disable him. It was just something wrong with his back that disabled him. But you've seen on that documentary that Tanya got an honours degree in applied science. And because she got an honours degree, she was then given an open slather to go in for medicine, doctor. And we were sitting down one day in my front room, and I said, well, listen, you've got to think about this, love. And she says, yes. She said, that's why I want to have a chat with you, Pop. Don't no bullshit with my kids. I'm a Pop, no grandma, grandpa, Pop, and Nan. That's good.
Mm.
And she said, what would you suggest, Pop? I said, well, look, if you're going to go and do medicine, that's a degree in medicine to become a doctor. That's at least 3, 4, maybe 5 years at uni. And then when you come out of uni, you've got to do your internship. And I said, the facts are this, that you will be middle-aged before you'd even earn a quid. So what she decided to do between the pair of us, she's doing radiology. And she's smart. She rang her nan yesterday and she got an honours pass in 5 of the degrees. And you've got to understand that all this time she's been with they don't get paid, you know.
Mm.
They go and work for these people, they don't get paid. But as from today, she's a radiologist on $1,000 an hour.
She's on the payroll.
$1,000 an hour.
She'd be worth a snip, mate.
And I exactly what I said. I said, well, you know, when you come past this fucking way, don't get out of your car, just hand your checkbook.
Just put the pay packet across.
But then when you've got to realise, of course, that I can remember quite distinctly 2 great mates of mine, Barney Smith and Evie Elliott. But then I also remember the others. You know, John Connor, Jackie Fitz, Brutal Face, Ronnie Hurd, and who was in the West, in South Australia, what was his name?
That was Jack Buchanan.
Jock Buchanan. Yeah. Oh, great bloke, great bloke. But you see, a lot of people said that Johnny Connor wasn't worth a pinch full of shit as an official. Well, they were all fucking wrong. Because unlike a lot of other officials, Johnny Connor officiated over 14 different awards. As a matter of fact, what was that one about jams in cans? Have you got any jams in cans? Somebody said, we want to, you got any jam? We can't get any jam in cans. He said, they got plenty of jams in cans. Or something like that.
I was used to get tangled. I think it was the crew at the fly up to Townsville Airport was washed out.
Yeah.
And they could fly into air, AYR.
That's right.
And he got up to say, I want 4 ABs for this to fly over, or air. No one knew what the hell he was trying to say.
Well, the same as Billy Eager. Ululu.
Ululu, yeah.
Ululu. That was Eric Schleit's father-in-law.
Bill, what do you call Jack, what do you call him, McLaughlin? Georgie McLaughlin. Where did you meet up with him?
Oh, I met up with George. Oh, there's quite a humorous story with that too. George McLaughlin was a good bloke.
Yeah.
But every time he got a bit pissed, he used to like fucking whacking on a bit. and we were at Montreal, and he and I did 3 ships on the Fort Spokane. And just along from Joe Beef's the bar was Joe Beef's riggers. And he was always short of people to throw in a splice. So I go down to Joe Beef's riggers and I throw a splice in, and he give me $5, which is a reasonable amount. Anyway, what you got to understand is that Joe Beef's itself, the pub, they cemented all the tables and all the chairs were cemented into the fucking floor. We used to love to go and have a drink then, George and myself and that. But the more pissed George used to get, he used to get a little bit fucking Obie joyful, you know. Anyway, one particular day at Joe Beef's, I came over and George noticed a little bit of claret on my head. And he said, what happened? He said, I had a bit of a stoush show with Joe Beef's. He said, oh, fuck. He said, we'll fucking fix this up, because by this time he'd been a bit pissy. And he was going to fucking fix it up. And he went over and he said, where's the fucking governor? And he said, what do you want him for? He said, my mate got into a fucking blue here and I want to fucking find out. And this bloke says, you're not talking about that fucking Frenchy bastard, are you? He said, I've never seen so much fucking damage done in such a short time by one fucking man in my life.
What caused the eruption that time?
Well, just the blue. I don't know, started something, I don't know what it was.
Misunderstanding.
Right, probably. Yeah, but he didn't mind it though, that fucking Frenchy bastard. But that's because I'm a direct descendant of the Huguenots for many years. I was known as Frenchy Langlois at sea.
Honey Pierre Langlois.
Oh, well, I mean, I made all that shit up.
Shit.
But you see, poor old Al Allport, he'd never figure it out, and I said, I used to wink. Wink like that. He never got the fucking business. But we were in the Wanganella. It was a great mate of mine, great mate of ours, but we were great mates, and we were very similar in physiology, in face, you know. And we were brothers. And I say that with the deepest humility, because he was my brother. And I can't get over him not being here. As a matter of fact, whilst he was laying ill in bed, I rang him up and told him, I said, I can't get up. Believe it or not, Wayne and Al, I've forgotten how to fucking get to his place. And I didn't want to go. And he said to me, and he must have been crook then, he said, you can read a fucking book, can't you? Get the fucking road directory. And I said, bloody good idea. And then I forgot about it. But, the strangest part about it, that I've done up almost 20 eulogies. I'm glad people ask me to do a eulogy, because it's the last thing you're ever going to do for a mate. And it's got to be right. You don't put no shit in, no fucking bullshit. And you see, what people, whether they understand it or not, in all cases, it's not what you say, it's how that you say it. You've got to go across. I remember Pat Garrity rang me up when his eldest brother Jack died. And I'll be quite honest with you, I to this day I can't figure out why Pat rang me up and nobody else. Because I didn't know Jack all that well. I knew of him, and I knew what he'd done, the 6th Divvy and all that sort of stuff. But in actual fact, Jack Garrity was the father of the family after Michael had died. And Michael, the father, had died because he was gassed in the First World War. But he was determined that all the Garrities from this big to that big were going to be educated the best possible way, in which they did do. Jim, the eldest bloke, used to work for Ampol, and he gave Ampol away and set up an outfit called Straight Talk Tyre Service, and became a multi-millionaire. And he bought a place down the river, and he said, he told Pat and me, he said, I'd always, whenever I had a quid, I was going to get it. I don't know where Jim is now, but anyway, Pat said, would you do it for me? I said, of course. But I'll have to tell you, I'll have to ring my old mate to get a bits of information from Al, my mate here. But it was strictly a Catholic ceremony. And after I spoke, the father spoke, naturally, I said, thank you, Father. And as I came off the lectern, down to the back of the hall, the priest put his hand out and he said, I don't know whether he said fucking brilliant, but he said absolutely brilliant. Now that makes you feel good. Two of Jack's sisters came up, they gave me a kiss afterwards, and they said, Jesus, Billy, you knew our brother better than we did. Now that says something about a eulogy, because I didn't know their brother real well at all. But they said, you know, and I said, well look, what you got to understand, you loved him. I had to research him.
Yeah, yeah.
So I found out lots of things that you probably didn't know. And when I told them a few of the things about the 6th Divvy, wasn't going to mention the silent settlement. You know about the silent settlement, do you? Well, you've always all heard about the 6th Divvy.
Yeah.
But who's ever heard about the 7th Divvy? Nobody. And that's what they call them, the silent 7. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You know, nobody worried about it. But Harry Black, you know Harry Black?
Yeah.
Well, he was a part of the silent 7.
He was there with my uncle.
Well, you know, which uncle was that?
Oh, you wouldn't know him.
I know a lot
He's
of
long
them.
dead.
I know a lot of the Oliver family.
I've been dead for 30 years.
I know you come from Mountain. How long do you think I've been around? I've been around for fucking 84 fucking years.
Yeah. Now, just for the fact, I was thinking,
Yeah.
we could.
Well, I'll tell you, wait a minute. Pincher said, he said Gary Parslow, that's the official in Auckland, he said there was a couple of young Aussies came over here for some sort of a conference. And they said, Jesus, that fucking official of yours in fucking Auckland, not a bad sort of bloke, is he? And they said, why that? He said he gave us 2 tickets for a nightclub. For the fucking brothel.
Yeah.
But you see, look, I don't know. I'd known Dave for a long, long while. I knew him before he went to New Zealand. I knew Kathy too. And incidentally, they sent me their journal, and I did send some fancy work over, and she said, oh, bloody beautiful. We'll make sure a photo goes in the journal. I'm still waiting. That was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And Pincher always said to me, don't fucking trust them. They'll fucking sell you down the drain, both of them. And I said, oh, well, yeah, that's it. Oh, mate, but some of the stories that,
Yeah.
oh, mate, and they're believed, that's true, what Dave's been doing.
Pincher hated him. Yeah.
Well, he got 66,000 to rewrite Against the Wind.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing. I've told you about the £18 sterling a year.
Yeah.
But when I was in the castle boats, if you come down, you do the Beta Bay, Walvis Bay, and a couple of other little ports, I forget their name. One of the things happened at the beginning of the war there, the 2 German passenger ships, the Windhoek and the Westerstrom, were there and they stayed there the whole war. They wouldn't come out. But when you get to Cape Town, you get a sub. This is a whole trip, you know, £18 a year, 25 shillings a month. So they generally, you put in for 10 bob. But the boys, like that's as I was then as a boy, the purser or the chief steward, purser, paymaster or whatever you want to call them, he'd have an envelope there for the boys. And there would be in two half-crown pieces. And he'd give you 5 bob for Cape Town, and then he put the other 5 bob in for Durban to pick up down the other end, you know. I can still remember that, don't you?
Yeah.
All them fucking ports I nearly got fucking married in. Nearly got fucking married in what's the next port down in Italy? Naples, Genoa. I nearly got married in Genoa. Also Bergamini. I nearly got married in bloody East London. Elizabeth Kitson. I can remember all their names. Oh Jesus! I never went bad sort. Let me tell you, I must have been something else. But I never worried one of them. Oh, yeah. Except Elsa Bergamini, I did. Yeah, I used to play her. Appreciate recording all this sort of stuff. But I might add that in lots of cases, man makes his own history. You know, if anything Alan Oliver's got something to offer, or Frame Finch, it'll go through. Your dad, Frankie, you know, me, Alan Allport, Brutal Face. Oh, incidentally, Brutal Face tried to get over the Spanish Civil War. He didn't make it, you know that, don't you? He went over on a ceramic, and he never made it. Kenny McPhee made it. I know what he told you, but it wasn't true. He didn't make it. No, he didn't make it. Kenny McPhee made it, and if anybody should know, it should be Kenny McPhee.
Well, he told me he saw him there. Was with him there.
Oh,
well, Kenny McPhee, I'd never known him to lie, and he told me.
No, never. Well, Brutal Face told me he never made it. See, so where do we go?
I don't know, it's long lost.
Well, he went over, he joined the ceramic, a shore sailboat to go over there, and he never made it over there.
He's always been put down, hasn't he?
Well, mate, I'm entitled. He's absolutely entitled to that, and I wouldn't want to knock it. But he told me he didn't make it. The ceramic didn't do it in time. He was on the shore, but that's beside the point. Beside the point. I knew Kenny McPhee very, very well too, and a great bloke.
He was.
You obviously wouldn't know Ken McPhee.
No, I don't think so. What was your first ship on the Aussie coast?
Me, Cardross.
And the last one was a Bass Trader, the old Bass Trader.
Yeah.
Bass Trader number 2.
Well, she had one funnel in it.
Yeah, Bass Trader number 2.
Have you got time to put this up?
Yeah.
They changed the funnel colours from black and blue.
Yeah, black, white, red, white and blue to green and gold.
That's right, with the gold band. And the mate said to me, incidentally, you've got to understand that they took me out of the ship to go there and straighten her up.
Yeah. And
without any ego, I straightened her up all right. And this story I'm going to tell you proves that. Anyway, the mate said to me one day, you've got to understand, the funnel was like that with a cowl, only about that big, right? And the main exhaust came there. So the main exhaust used to throw the carbon over, and the carbon would go onto the green and get the black. And the mate, who subsequently went ashore and bought a two-bit shop in North Sydney, and he reckoned that his first turnover was $250,000 a year. But anyway, that's beside the point. He said, what would you do? And I said, well, look, I can't remember his name now, but I said, look, outside of shooging the funnel once every 3 or 4 months, maybe longer, and rigging chairs and stages, and don't forget, you wouldn't be able to do it touch to the top, you'd have to come right the way down because all the soogy would run on the funnel. And he said, well, what would you do? I said, I'd paint it black. And he said, oh. He said, could you do that? I said, I can fucking do it. And I said, what about you? He said, oh. He said, it's only about that big. And he's kidding himself, you know. That back then she went down almost nothing, down the arse end. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, yeah, we'll do it. So when we were coming into Port Botany, I said to John the Chief, John Milne, I said, when we get in, John, leave me out a pot of black with a 4-inch brush and a 2-inch brush for cutting in. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to paint the top of the funnel. And luckily, it had a big weld right the way round, so it didn't need any cut. No, it had a rod. The only all I had to cut it was cut it in. And of course, John, and this is not ego, he thinks the sun shines out of my arse, and he always takes notes and blah, 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 and he comes in and says, oh, you want to see that bosun? You don't swear. He's fucking walking around the top of the funnel, 60 feet up in the air, as if there's fucking nothing there. I mean, I'm a sailor. You can, there's a difference, right? So I painted it around like that, and I said, thanks, John. Anyway, when we started running into Melbourne, after a little while, we used to get some billet doux. You know what that means, don't you? Love letters from the office.
Oh, yeah.
To put her back into the original colours. And I said, well, no. And we got 4 or 5 or 6. I said, look, if them arseholes in the office want to paint her back, tell them to put their boiler suits on and come down to the vessel, and I'll rig the stages and chairs, and they can paint the fucking thing themselves, because I'm not going to do it. Now, I had met Max Moore-Wilton.
Max the Axe.
Max the Chainsaw, a couple of occasions when I was the relieving official. And I must have done something for him because he remembered me. Anyway, this particular day, apparently, they'd all been told that I wasn't going to do it, and that was it. So they were talking, they'd been to a conference, and they were talking outside the main conference hall in AML down in Melbourne. You've got to remember that when Max Moore-Wilton took over, we had 32 ships. When he left, we had 11.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, they're all talking there, and they were talking about the vessel and how much she looked, and they said, oh yeah, that Bass Trader, oh, she's bloody beautiful, she's clean, everything's clean. And one bloke said, yeah, he said, I was always worried about the amount of paint that was being used. He said, but it's obviously that bosun has not got it in handy 1-gallon take-home fucking packs, he uses it. And they said, yeah, whatever's got to be done to that, wherever she goes, any job she has to do, she's ready, and she's ready to go. And as I said, Max Moore-Wilton knew of me. And one of them looked across to Max Moore-Wilton and said, Mr. Wilton, sir, you know Bill Langlois, don't you? He said, no Bill Langlois. No Bill Langlois is the only fucking bosun in the world with his own fucking funnel colours. Do I know Bill Langlois?
And it looked better anyway, didn't it? Black.
Oh, it did look better, but hey, a month after I'd got out,
Back to, yeah.
and that's it. Roy Jefferson took over from me. John Milne wanted to take over, but he couldn't run the shop and run the bosun's job at the same time.
That's right, yeah.
It's funny, but no, keep going.
No.
Keep exhaust you, Bill.
No.
Where we're going, it's too late now.
Yeah.
So it's past 10, so it'd be foolish trying to read.
Well,
while we've got you in now, you might as well exhaust
Well, I haven't got all that much time. We've got a clue up because, I'll have to tell you a story. Jim Healy,
Yeah.
a great bloke. I mentioned about his young grandson. What was that? Was that Jim Healy?
Yeah.
George used to smoke these little cigarillos.
Oh, that's Rex you're talking about.
Rex Healy. And we'd over there where in the Beauty Point Hotel, and there'd be 4 or 5 chairs. What's the names around? And Rex would come down and sit down. And George would go and get his rum, and I'd go and buy him a rum, and I'd buy him 3 or 4 rums, as a matter of fact. But fucking Rex would smoke all fucking George's fucking cigarillo. And I said, listen, you fucking hoon, don't you ever know any fucking buy them? You can buy them over there, you know. Oh, well, he said, George don't mind. I said, he don't, but I do.
It just dawned on me who John Milne is. Tell us about John the Cheap and his shop on the Bass Trader.
Hang on a minute, put it on pause for a second.
Yeah, that's good. That. So you're telling us about John the Cheap because
yeah,
I'd heard
these as you go along.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
And you can take a copy.
John the Cheap, because when I first heard about that shop on there, I didn't believe it until I seen it.
Well, you know, when I first joined the ship,
Yeah.
I thought like Gus Webster, he ran the shop for the ship. But not true. John Milne ran the shop for himself.
Yeah.
That was his shop.
Didn't know that.
No, a lot of people didn't know it. But, and as he said, John the Cheap shuts up shop. Let me do that first. You do that first.
Yeah.
There's some good words there.
Yeah.
The chain letter, but the one about the Pommy sailors is a great one.
Yeah. Keep going. Yeah.
Now, it says you're on about John the Cheap. There's a photograph of John the Cheap there, you see, with his bib and brace he always wears.
Yeah.
And it says, John the Cheap shuts up shop. On January the 13th, 1947, a smooth-faced, slim young lad of 14 years from North Sydney joined his first ship, the SS Kinder, then owned by the Newcastle Under River Steamship Company, the oldest shipping company in Australia, circa 1891 to 1991.
We'll have to put it on so you can keep the sun out of your eye.
Okay. Now, you don't need to know anything else, do you? Oh, Jesus Christ, what size is your head?
Small.
Now, obviously you don't look at this. There's another point there, but it brings in Barney Smith.
Yeah.
You know, John Milne recently retired, joined his first ship at the top end of Darling Harbour.
Yeah.
Inside Pyrmont Bridge, the Spud Wharves. Almost opposite 2 of the then well-known watering holes, the Maitland and Morpeth and Cockneys, known as Sally's, after the licensee. Sally, a staunch supporter of the Seaman Union and its members, kept a framed loyalty card from the 1935 strike in a place of honour behind the jump of the front bar facing Day Street. Under it was a well-earned and appropriate plaque of appreciation from the SUA Sydney branch. And that's Barney Smith did that, and what a great bloke. Did you know that him and his wife were killed in the pedestrian crossing in North Sydney, coming back from North Sydney?
Yeah, that's right, years ago, yeah.
Oh, a long while ago.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Yeah, that's just after I first went to sea,
Yeah, and of course, Lil, every Friday night she put a stock pot on.
Yeah.
You know, stir it up, and everybody that wanted a feed would know you'd go over to Lil Smith's place and get the spoon out and have a feed at the stock pot, Irish sugar or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so was Jock, so was Barney.
Yeah.
And the strangest part of it, I can never forget it, he was a fireman. And that finger of his left hand, right, was like that, bent. And he always, I can't do it yet, but, and he always pointed it at you.
Yeah.
The bent finger man.
The bent finger man.
Oh, what a great bloke.
Yeah.
But and the women, the staff members that went through there, Fuchsia Lewin.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Fuchsia Lewin. Dresser.
Yeah, hairdresser.
Hairdresser.
Yeah. Great woman.
I ring her up quite frequently. Now, I've only got one of these.
So getting back to John the Cheap shop, what did he used to sell in it?
Everything. French leather Joe down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Anything.
Because I believe he had a blow-up doll in at one stage of the game,
Oh,
didn't
that's
he?
right, yeah.
Ollie
yeah,
and
yeah.
Margaret Thatcher, that's all.
Yeah.
But
Was the legend.
but his shop was there, the door in the alleyway, and my cabin was there.
Yeah.
And it opened up all. Mate, he used to work hard though.
Yeah.
He carried bags of fucking spuds and cases of fucking apples. And what was the bloke that used to get him? I used to drop him off at Hurstville somewhere. What was his
Once
name?
she went up to Brisbane, and the customs there thought it was different ship, foreign ship, so they all come on board. And he wasn't going to waste them. He got them all into the shop, and he sold all his cheese, all his Tasmanian cheese and honey, all went ashore with the customs. Looked a lot of it.
Made a lot of money. He said when he had a pot, what we used to call it was a stock pot. It was a big pot, stew pot, and that was his money. And he'd throw the money in there.
Yeah.
But when he retired, he made over $9,000 or $10,000 out of that shop.
Good.
But people didn't realise that it was, and a lot of people used to go cooking him. Roy Jefferson used to go cook about what we go, because if it's a ship shop, it pays into the rolling fund and all that sort of stuff. But it doesn't if the bloke owns it.
Yeah.
He did own it.
Yeah.
But Gus Webster, I used to get a lot of Gus Webster stuff, all the Phillips stuff, the razors and all that sort of jazz. I got them for Gus Webster, but his was different. He's run out for the ship.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have made a quid on the side, I don't know. But yeah, John the Chief. He keeps asking me about this and what about this and what about that. And I think he's writing a fucking book about me. He's a bit fucking upset that I'm not going to write it myself, and I don't. I'm not going to fucking write it. Fuck it.
Is it true you had a dangerous hobby as a young fellow, riding motorbikes through saloon bars?
Oh well, I rode my one motorbike through the saloon bar of the Ship Inn. Yeah. But the only problem is I couldn't get the fucking thing out. But Joe Upton used to ride the big bikes up at Bathurst, I used to ride the HRD Black Shadow, and I forget what Joe, but Joe and I raced the bikes over in the old day.
Yeah,
Yeah. On the speedway. Not very good at it, but you didn't have to be very good at it.
Yeah.
As long as you could stay up on with two wheels.
That's right, mate.
And because you see, a lot of people don't, those sort of things, Wayne. When I paid off, I bought from Tony, the Canadian bloke. Tony.
Little bloke up in
Brisbane now.
Oh yeah.
Tony, whatever.
I remember you.
Yeah, Tony Grail. Tony, whatever it was. And he sold me a bike, and I rode that right round Australia, and it was a 3.5 side banger AJS. Now people don't know about the AJS. AJS Arthur James Strubwick, and the Jap.
Prestwick.
James Arthur Prestwick. James Arthur Prestwick, yeah. Nothing to do with the Japs. Nothing to do with the Japs at all.
Come record again.
As Wayne has already told me, there's no editing.
That's right.
So there's a bit of a mix-up in where they come into sequence. Obviously, they don't come into any sequence at all.
No.
The way I'm talking, but we had a tanker on the coast called the Calnex Liverpool, and I don't know when you joined around, but I joined about 3 or 4 months after you, didn't I?
I was about 3 days after Garrity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then I joined it. And I think when did you join it? September?
Yeah, September's when we
Yeah, and I joined her in December or January, one of the two. But we're on our way up north. And we used to call in the Brisbane, the Park Discharge, and then we go up to town, go to Cairns or whatever. What's the other place up there? But
Urangan.
Urangan. We used to go to all them places.
All of course.
Anyway, we're in Brisbane, and Pat Garrity, who was the gaffer, said, look, I'm going to put Bobby Morrison over the side just to touch up on the starboard anchor fleet. And I said, good. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, well, I want you to get one of them small 2-man stages and go over and paint the stem. And I said, good. Well, I don't know whether you know Maury Morrison.
I don't think so, no.
And I'll have to tell you about Paddy Mallon in a minute too, because they're good blokes. But work and them are strangers. Absolute strangers. So...
Never the twain shall meet.
That's right. And he wasn't thinking about Rudyard Kipling either. Anyway, Bobby Morrison, Theme Song. Now, I still don't know how he got the name, but they always known him as Theme Song. Theme,
Yeah.
Theme Song. He dropped his brush in the drink. Morrison being Morrison, then hiked into the drink after the brush and shook it. I've got it, don't worry about it. As if they were worried about the bloody brush anyway. And he swam to the wharf, got up the ladder, held the brush firmly clasped in his hand, and went aboard. I think he threw the brush over the fucking side then, but, because he then went out of shower and put his good mocker on and went over to the Hamilton Hotel at Brett's Wharf. And as far as he was concerned, the atmosphere in the Hamilton Hotel was far more congenial than painting over the fucking side on the Caldex Liverpool. So he stayed there all day. Anyway, while I've rigged all the stage, and Garakti comes along and says, you know what you're going to do, Bill, don't you? And I had no fucking idea. I said, well, I suppose I can guess. So I painted the white surrounds and the black ring, and then I painted out Caltex, C-A-L-T-E-X. So consequently, all that was on the bow, the stem of the Caltex Liverpool, was the Red Star. And with a very short period of time, she became known as the Caltex Moscow, or Caltex Kremlin. And as Bill Godman said, and don't fucking try to get in any trouble there, the fucking Magnificent Sevens there, and that included Bob Wilkie, believe it or not. So anyway, we come from Brisbane up north, and Angus Parker was on the wharf. Apparently it must have been only the second or third trip that they'd done from away. And as she knows the wharf, Angus Parker looked up at the bow and said, she's got a red star on the bow. And Reg Eastham, who was there, what was he?
Industrial officer.
Industrial officer said, well, I wouldn't say too much about it, Captain. Angus Parker, Captain Parker, oh, great bloke.
He's in charge of Caltex.
He was in charge of Caltex, Captain, yeah. So she sailed on the coast for over 2.5 years then, with the Red Star on the bow. But when she finally got to Singapore to hand her over, he was the gaffer, and I was the gaffer's mate. And he said, we're going to clean her up. And I said, that's right. But I said, they forgot to put fucking paint aboard. But we cleaned her up. And everything that was solid enough to be used, I gave them to the after end, the afterguard. And from the midship house to the bow, I looked after myself. The tank tops were grey. And then I went round and I had enough white to do all the little knobs and little foldy eyes and all that sort of jazz. And let me tell you, she looked good. She did look good. And as a matter of fact, Alan don't know this, but I know for sure that the company said that the Caltex Liverpool was handed over in the best condition than any other of their ships that had been handed over to them before. I don't hate anybody in the world, but there are some people I...
What about that prickish after you had the overtime?
But there are some people that I like less than others. But I was in, I'm not quite sure whether it was Cape Town or Durban. I think it might have been Cape Town. And there was 4 Yarby fucking coppers having to go at 2 young fucking black kids and fucking giving them some. And I walked up and I said, there's fucking no need for that. Anyway, I don't remember, one thing led to another. And this fucking Yarby bastard went like that. And he stuck a knife in me fucking throat. Can you see the scar?
Yeah.
And then fucking pissed off. And I went to the hospital with the knife still in my fucking throat. Lucky they put a few stitches in and they said, who did that? I said, I don't know, but I said, it's in fucking bother if I ever fucking find out. But, you know, it's amazing. It happened to me in New Zealand too, and strange enough, this was a South African too. I'd skinned out of a vessel. I'm not quite sure they named it now. Which one was it? I skinned out of her anyway in Napier. Oops, what'd I do?
No, that's all right, mate. It's only a junction box.
And unbeknown to me, the bosun of the sandboat that I was in, Jim Rainey, was doing a lot of fucking deals I didn't know anything about. And this time I was in the store. And he'd been selling the fucking runners. And then I figured out how I was so fucking busy splicing fucking runners, because he was flogging them. And particularly in fucking Napier, because they used a hell of a lot of them. Anyway, I skinned out and the coppers come and got me. And they said, you do any wire splicing? I said, yes. And I said, I've just left the ship where I did all the wire splicing. Could you recognise any of your splices? I say, yes, I could. He said, have a look at this. And I said, yeah, well, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. He said, where do you think they come from? I said, I wouldn't have a fucking clue. And they fucking got fucking crooked on me because I wouldn't fucking blow the fucking whistle on the bloke that was firing them from Jim Rainey, and he incidentally was an arsehole. And the storekeeper then was a bloke named Joe Blake. His father was the shore boatswain in New Zealand Shipping Company in Royal Albert Dock I told you about with Reggie Reid. Oh mate, and he used to take his piano recording around there. Oh, he was fucking brilliant. But anyway, I'm getting back to it now. This South African prick, I got 30 days for skinning out of a fucking home boat. And I hadn't been there more than 2 or 3 days. And the jail was up the hill in Coot Road. And I lived with a Maori family at number 16 Coot Road. Charlie Brown and his missus, they were Maoris. And every time we used to come down, one of the girls used to meet me and give me a couple of smokes. Anyway, the jail director, governor, said to me, we've been waiting for somebody like you. How are you aloft? I said, well, I'm as fucking good as anybody, I suppose. He said, can you do any blasting? He said, I said, yes, I've done it. Oh, he said, well, what about doing the blast near where you're doing the blast and blow it down, and then they pick up all this small stuff and put it in trucks and they go and put it in road base. Anyway, they gave me an extra quarter an ounce of tobacco per week for doing this. And I was almost out of my time. Not as an ordinary seaman or an able seaman.
Out of jail.
Out of my time, they're getting out. And I'm sitting down and this fucking South African fucking Yappy bastard is down here and he's talking to a mob of the screws. You've got no idea. all the fucking, well, not the screws, all the fucking lags. They've all after either robbed banks, post offices, or whatever, you know. But then when you get to find out, they're probably in there for fucking car theft or fucking pinching, and none of the big stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this South African was saying, oh, well, I go on me holidays on the 15th, I think is what he said. And I happened to be right there, and I said, well, that's the day that I go out. Maybe we could have a drink together. And like a typical fucking yarpy, he said, I wouldn't be seen dead on the fucking street with you. Oh, I said, oh, that's fucking nice to know. Anyway, he goes on holidays and I come out of the fucking Napier Nick. And the next town up is a place called Hastings. And I'd gone up to Hastings. I was going to get a haircut, and the barber shop was on the starboard side of the road. And as I'm walking up to the barber shop, I saw this fucking South African. He's there, I'm here. So I walk over to fucking meet him. Well, what does he do? He goes over that way. And then what do? I go that way. And what does he do?
He come back.
He goes that way. And this happened 4 times. Till we finished up outside my fucking hairdresser shop. And I put my nose right in his face. And I said, wouldn't have a drink, eh? He said, yeah, I know what it is, you know how it is, as if he's trying to make, as if it's in the nick, he couldn't be too friendly. And I said, well, what about this for fucking size? Fucking whammer. And when he went down, I put the slipper in. He's going, he's crying like a fucking baby. And I said, wouldn't be seen dead in the street with me, you fucking arsehole. Try that for size. But, you see, these people, you're not supposed to know about that, are you? They're parts of our life that you shouldn't do it, you know. It's all right for the Yanks to talk about it, but
Yeah.
but us old Poms and Aussies, we don't. I was down my baker shop the other day, and over many, many years, I've always made a point of either being able to say good morning, thank you, or whatever, in whatever language. In the baker shop over here, they're Vietnamese. And if you're saying good morning, you say God bless you. And if you pick to say, yeah, kumanonga, with the emphasis on kumanonga, you know. And there's Jim and his 2 off-cider bakers up the back. And they're going, Uzi, Uzi, Uzi. And the girl said, I said, what are they saying in Vietnamese? She said, I don't know. Uzi, Uzi, Uzi. Oi, oi, oi. Yeah, they're saying Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oh, yeah.
But Uzi, Uzi, Uzi. Now what else? Remind me of something else.
Excuse me.
First ship Cardross. Billy Eager.
Yeah.
He used to pick up outside the pickup under the old bridge, right? Not the old bridge, the bridge,
Yeah.
the coat hanger. And you'd line up outside the door, and the third mate come out and put his hands on the, what's his name? Anyway, we go over to the shipping office, Mr. Mac and the other bloke, what was his name? Leo Tyers Earth was there, all good blokes.
Except for the shipping master.
Yeah,
Reynolds.
Mr. Mac. Reynolds, and Mr. Mac took over after him.
Yeah.
Anyway, when the bloke, he give me the empty. And he went in with the third mate to sign on. And he wasn't an AB at all, he was fucking nothing. So Billy Eager come out and said, don't go away! So I stood up outside the door, you remember the door that went in? And he said he wasn't a seaman at all. And nudge, nudge. Billy said, I told him to pick you up.
Oh yeah, he's on the make, yeah.
On the mate, $20. I told him to pick you up. But you see, he missed out. He didn't get it from me.
What year was that book?
1948.
48.
48, yeah.
Is that $20 or 20 quid?
20 quid.
20 quid, yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you when the war ended?
Where was I when the war ended? Alan. Oh, fuck do I know? I've got the discharge book in there, but you know the strangest part about it, Russian convoys. I've got the thingamajig here, special operation for the liberation of Europe and all that sort of jazz. If you went to Russia on a Russian convoy, they just marked in your book FGN, foreign. Nothing about where you're going or anything. That's just foreign.
Foreign,
yeah. I wasn't in the Soviet Union, no.
What about this rumour that you were in the Royal Marines? Is that true?
Oh, I joined the Marines, but I didn't last very long.
No?
I didn't last very long. I got a bullet through there, and that was the end of that.
Where was that at? Was it
Oh, some job we did, I don't know what it was.
a commando's room?
Yeah. But I don't talk about it because there's not much I can do to substantiate it or whatever, you know. The biggest part of my life, at least 51 years of it, was as a seaman, a sailor.
Now, what about sail? What sailing ships were you in?
I was in the Law Hill, and
Yeah.
then I first went to sea in the Thames Spitz.
Yeah.
She was a sailor man, then I was in the Law Hill,
And what was she?
three-masted bark.
Yeah.
I got out of her in Byra or Lorenco Mars, I'm not quite sure, but I've already told that story.
How long were you there, Bill? Can you remember?
In the Law Hill.
In the Law Hill, not very long,
How many crew in her?
30.
Yeah.
But most of them weren't sailors at all.
Yeah.
They say, what you got to understand, Wayne and Alan, is everybody that goes to sea is a sailor. The skipper's a sailor, a seaman.
Seaman, yeah.
The chief engineer's a seaman, the steward's a seaman, the cook's a seaman. They're all seamen, but not me. I was a sailor. And I make that absolute distinction. There's a difference. Everybody can be a seaman. You don't have to know anything. Have a look at this fucking night without the IGs now.
Yeah,
What do
IRs.
they know?
Yeah.
IRs, whatever they call them.
Yeah.
You know, they asked me to go over to the college to do some more instructing, and I was over there at less than a day. And I went through the, what do you call it, the curriculum. And all
curriculum,
that.
yeah.
And I said, well, listen, you've lost me. You don't even teach them the compass.
Yeah.
And I said, what do they do when they go, if they get into a lifeboat, what do? Take their computer with them? They will never be able to emulate Captain William Bligh, who sailed 10,000 miles on a pencil,
Yeah.
you know. And they said, oh no, well, we want you to stay. I said, well, I'm not going, that's it. Get me on the next fucking plane out of Launceston.
So when did you teach down the college?
When I was posted to Bass Strait, I was teaching,
Oh, yeah.
instructing.
Yeah, instructing, I mean.
Instructing.
Yeah.
I made a point that
Yeah.
I wasn't teaching, you couldn't teach after them, you couldn't teach them to tie their fucking bootlaces.
Yeah.
But quite a few people come up, Dallas May and Kieran Milne come up and said, you know our dad? And I said, yeah. I said, well, now listen, I'm very, very appreciative of you telling me that I know your dad. I do know your dad, and they're fucking good fellas. But I said, if you mark the nut up to scratch, it don't make a fucking blind bit of difference who you're fucking
That's right, yeah.
That's it. Only that's an arsehole over there, mate.
Tell us about the night that Menzies died.
The night that Menzies died.
After the crowd had just come back from
we
burying
we just buried Huey Grant.
Huey Grant.
And on the way back, we were driving in Allenville Port View. Some sitting in the back, some not sitting in the back. And we almost had a fucking blue in every fucking pub. And then we found out that fucking Menzies had died. And we wasn't too fucking unhappy about that. But then when we got to the Orient Hotel, Alan had parked his car and we waited for him. We come in that door in the corner and we go in there and Tex Moran is right in the middle of the fucking saloon bar and he's fucking knocking them down left, fucking right and centre. And there's two fucking arseholes, Tommy and Joey Galvin, over here. And I came in and Alan Allport went to the bar and I said, here's my coat. He said, and Alan said, Alan, you're not going to get into that. I said, you're fucking joking. Of course I'm going to fucking get into it. And as we come out, I went to look over and there's this arsehole coming through the bar. And Terry Bell would tell you this because he had to fix the fucking window afterwards. He comes, and he's got one of these long chairs. And I said, what are you going to do with that? And you can have this is in Michael Cotton. He said, I'm going to hit that fucking big bastard right over the head with it. I said, are you? Bang! And he slid out the fucking window. And then he's on his fucking shoulder and off he went. So then he got me and Tex and I got into it, shoulder to shoulder. And we made a bit of a fucking mess of them. And then we found out that Tex was crawled into it too, and so was I, because it was fucking Tommy Galvin. They were fighting the Navy blokes. Oops.
That's all right.
Tommy Galvin was geeing up some of the Navy shielders, right?
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'll keep going.
And that's what caused the blue. Oh, but and then he's going to write a book coming out of fucking retirement at 60.
So how old were you when this happened?
Oh, about 50-something. 60, nearly.
Well, the night Menzies died.
Yeah.
But I think it was, people were so happy, you know, all the seamen.
Yeah.
We drifted down after they'd shut the Captain Cook and drifted down to the pub and got in there and this thing suddenly erupted.
Yeah.
And I was with Alan and we're both tanked, me and Alan were both pretty tanked. And it was Tex spontaneously. It was very hard to, these were Navy types or something like that, and I think they were our...
But he was already scrapping when we walked in.
No, I was there. No, we were there anyway. No, actually, what it was, there was Navy types there, and they were, I think, got snarly about our comments on Menzies' happy departure, and there was provocation by this little bloke.
Tommy Galvin, yeah.
And anyway, Tex was walking down the street, so immediately his other one put on the stink, so he knew that Tex had sort of pulled him out of it. And anyway, Tex come in, and I forget just what happened because we were pretty primed, but it sort of exploded, and it should have been filmed on Soundstage 2 of MGM, and it probably needed John Wayne to ride through firing his 6 guns. It was that big. Bigger than
Ben-Hur. Bigger than Ben-Hur.
It was just erupting everywhere. And I remember big, what's his name? Oh, he's Tweed Heads. He's a giant of a bloke. And he was fighting someone with someone riding on his back.
That was Tex. Tex.
That wasn't Tex. It was, forget his other name now. Oh, Christ. There's Deck Boy with me. I should remember him. But it was just exploding everywhere. And anyway, I remember Tex quickly knocked a couple out and he sort of grabbed someone and he said his muscles down here ripple. He said, oh, this bloke's dangerous. He's that muscular. He's got to go quick. It's funny to laugh back now, but it was just exploding everywhere. And that happened. He actually had come out of retirement and he belted this bloke and he went straight out the window. And then Tex, it sort of quietened down and Tex grabbed a couple of them and took them out and said, look, the bloke's rang for the coppers, you better get rid of them, better clean up or disappear. Yeah. And while he's doing it, someone said, where's Tex? I said, he's out with 2 others. So he went running around and Tex is quieting them down. The next one, he thought they were on Tex, he come up and knocked one bloke right out. So Tex said, oh, well, God, he knocked the other bloke out. Watched all three. It's mad comedy, kind of. No, I don't think.
Well, thank Christ they couldn't hit because I never copped anything. Neither did Tex.
No, it was a. You look back on it and laugh, but I suppose it could have been.
But
there was all kinds of.
who was that poofter solicitor that all the boys used to go to? Lived in Victoria Road, Balmain.
It wasn't Alan Jones, was it?
Anyway,
He makes out his illegal figure.
they said Joey and Tommy at Galvin, they needed a reference for the coppers. The coppers were
Yeah,
going to
it
sue
turned
them.
into a court case.
Yeah.
And I forget what happened, but he was called in, and they were asking him questions in the court about this old man who was belting people. and the only idea was, oh, that could be anyone. He's in there in court as a witness, clearing the trail from himself.
Then they said about Stanley. What's his name? First name? Keith Stanley? No.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Keith Stanley. And he said, the copper said, what do you know about this fair-headed young sailor, 6'2", good-looking, broad? I said, aren't all sailors like that? Anyway, one thing led to another, and they got away with it. Tommy and Joey. And the solicitor, who was the poofter, he said to both the Galvins, they said, Jesus Christ, where the fuck did you get him? He's fucking brilliant!
The perfect witness.
Oh, dear. All right. So now listen, what, are you going to come back again? I'd love for you to come back again. I'll have coffee on and whatever.
If you want to keep going, you keep going.
Oh, well, I don't mind keep going. What else we got to talk about?
Well, maybe he might unroll that list of questions that we've got there, and he might decide
Well,
that.
I can remember.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Give us my. Where's my question?
You've got all your questions over there.
You've got all your answers underneath John the Jeep.
Why don't you stir up your memory from that? Right.
When all else fails, read the questions.
Well, I told you about the young pioneers.
Yeah.
I told you about Wally Masters.
Yeah, you're going.
No, you didn't.
No, not Masters and Mallon and Paddy Mallon too.
Paddy Mallon.
Yeah, you're going to talk about him too.
Well, Paddy Mallon and the other bloke that never lies work, Bobby Morrison.
Yeah.
What was that one that you were in with Paddy Mallon?
John Hunter.
John Hunter. Oh, I said to the storekeeper, they never opened any paint. I said, leave some fucking paint out. He said, you on the gear? I said, yeah, but I'm not fucking doing anything. Leave some paint out. So, left some paint out and I painted, over 2 days I painted the whole deck almost from the forecastle right the way around. And Paddy Mallon relieved me. And he just walked right past the fucking roller, left us standing there. And after I did his eulogy, he said to Billy, his wife, he said that Bill Langlois is a wonderful bloke, he said, but the only trouble when you relieve him on deck, he's fucking working. He's always working. He's always working. But I did his eulogy too, and they loved it. Well, his young son sailed me when I was the bosun.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm not trying to think of the word. It's fortunate, I suppose, that if you're a decent fucking bosun, people remember it.
Yeah.
And Robert Coombs came over at the last World Maritime Day. And he said, I was talking to those fellas over there, Billy. And incidentally, you got no idea. Young fucking Teddy, not Tommy, not Joe, me. Teddy, his brother was bosun of the Wanaka before I took over. Anyway, every time I go there, I finish up with a bottle of champagne and a couple of chooks. And I've got tickets, but my tickets don't win. But this young fella, he always goes over and says, just fucking dip a few of fucking billies, though.
Yeah.
But, see, that's the problem when you're thinking, World Maritime Day.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose there's at least 3 blokes that owe their lives to me. I pulled them out to drink. One of them in Launceston, he lived down in West Australia, Bob McKenzie.
Mm.
I pulled him down and pulled him right out of the drink, and then another bloke had Molotovs. He went on the ice to test it, and he's got shit fucking scared, and he said, "It's fucking this blah blah blah," and I fucking pulled him up out of the fucking ice.
Where was that in?
In Molotovs,
Yeah.
on a Russian convoy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now. But you see, when I first went to sea, they give you nothing. You had no gear. A mattress, if you're lucky. But mainly you'd buy a mattress yourself, and it used to cost you 2 and 6pence in Liverpool or London to buy a mattress. And it lasted for 11 trips, 1 out and 1 home. You never turned the mattress over until you got the other end. But nothing else, you know. And you know, they had an old saying. Regarding the mattresses, and you must have heard of this. When Lundy Isle, you see ahead, pack your bag and dump your bed.
This is the first time I've heard it.
Is it?
Yeah,
First
that's
time
the
you
first
heard
time I've
it?
heard it. Yeah.
Oh,
We're not as old as that, see?
yeah, well, you don't have to be old to remember them. I mean,
No, I'd never heard that one.
I was in hospital when I think it was the pacemaker, or this one,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. And 2 of the senior nurses came in with all their hats on, and they said, "Jesus, sailor." I don't know why they call me sailor, but in all the hospitals they call me sailor.
Yeah.
They said, "Sailor, you're amazing. I and my colleagues have done hundreds and hundreds of operations. And when they come out of the anaesthesia, they just close their eyes and go, oh." But she said, "Not the sailor. You were spruiking the Ballad of Dan McGrew." And mate, it gets better. It gets better.
Ooh.
And I got back up there again because I had to go back in quite frequently to see them. And they said, "Look, at least once a month, our senior nurses, sisters I think they call them, and a couple of doctors have a coffee time. Would you like to come and recite some of your monologues?" Oh, I said, "I'd love to." So I went up and gave them Dan McGrew, Eskimo Nell, and one that I wrote specifically for them, you know. And it goes like this. You're supposed to say it in a Cockney accent, but seeing as I haven't got a Cockney accent, you'll be pretty right. I watch you now to see behaves for hours and hours, I sits. I know the sea is full of waves because I've often noticed it. For on the deck each starry night, the wild waves and the Thames, I knows them all, and I knows them some. Wild waves and the Thames, I counts and knows them all by sight, and some of them by name. And then I get to figuring a guy like me ain't got no right to roam, because I'm homesick when I puts to sea, and I'm seasick when I'm home. You like them?
Yeah.
Anyway, the motorbike, we've had them. Magnificent sell them. I'll have to tell you about Lenny Norris,
Yeah.
Lenny the Liberator. He got crushed in that Newcastle earthquake.
Yeah.
But just like Lenny Norris and his brother Bill, he's no reason to be there. He went there to do a mate a favour. He went down by going, the whole thing collapsed on his on top of his car.
Mm.
he married Mary Knight, who became Mary Norris, and her first husband went down in the Iron Knight.
Yeah. One of the blokes we've done, Bill, was the deck boy on the Iron Knight, and he survived it.
Oh, I see in the journal.
He died. He died 2 days before Anzac Day. John Stone. He was the last surviving member of it. Yeah.
Oh, what do I mean? Us people, they're not going to they're going to have to kill us to get rid of it. But I remember I was speaking to Jim Ely. I think it was the Sydney Workers Club when it was in the bottom end of Chiltern, in the old iron workers building. You remember it? And we were talking about something, and I happened to say to Jim, and I said, well, a lot of people are going to talk about the car you drive, Jim, which was a big Ford, you know. And he said, a big Ford, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, they're going cook. He said, well, listen, can you see the size of me? What do you think I'd fucking fit into a fucking mini miner? Yeah. Up the shit. Now, I was boating the Dubbo, and they're all up having a drink at Bobby Allen's pub, the first and last, the Metropole, wasn't it? Metropole? Yeah. And he was going crook because we had stickers out, don't buy Ampol. And Bobby called me in and he said, look, he said, we'll have to give this a bit of a fucking miss. He said, all these stickers around on the bar, he said, we got blokes there that work in fucking Ampol, you know. So we knocked that off. But then Ampol sent a big rake of trucks. Ampol. So I said, you fucking beauty. Billy, what's his name, the poofter, what's his name, Billy, the bloke they used to love. Like, Billy what? Bennett. I don't know. Billy Bennett.
Oh, Billy Bennett.
Billy Bennett was there, Bill Norris, and a few of the others, and I said, Bill Norris, I said, get about fucking 7 or 8 fucking pots of white and 3-inch brushes. What are we going to do? I'll show you. So as they sent these rakes, that's what they call what's name? Sent these rakes through. We fucking, and they put Ampol. Don't buy Ampol in white paint. Oh, it went over fucking well. You don't reckon it caused some fucking trouble? Don't buy Ampol. And that's where that photograph comes in there, with all the ladies, my lovely wife and my daughter. And now what else? Up the ship. Done by Ampol, Bobby Allen. Now, when I went over to the United Nations for the second session on disarmament, you'll love this, Al. We were inside, we were doing something, and I sat down and I had a coffee with Fidel Castro. And I told him about a couple of the tankers that I'd been in that used to run to Cuba before Fidel had taken over, one Carlo Barges, you know. And he said, by Jesus, mate, he said, you know more about Cuba than I do. And I said, I don't think so, but still. We'll let it ride. We'll let it ride. Yeah, Fidel Castro. Yeah. Had a coffee with him at the United Nations.
Oh, good. Great.
But you see, these things should be a matter of record.
Yeah.
But I spoke to the Security Council. There's photographs of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I spoke to the Security Council. As a matter of fact, I don't remember what I fucking said, but still, I said it. I was there, and anywhere else.
Wait.
Yeah, remind me that Ursula Rubb, that was one of my interpreters. She came out to Australia and she stayed for a few days here in Australia. She was my interpreter in the GDR. Now, oh, it's all right. You don't have to be there. Automatic, ain't it?
Yeah, it's going. It's on record.
All right. Well, you know, some of the things that I've done, I'm so proud of, you know. I'm so proud of being a blockade runner in the Spanish Civil War. I'm so proud of being a member of the Young Pioneers, the Socialists, at 16. As a matter of fact, Alan Allport said to me, and I'm pretty sure that he had deep down inside of him that I was going to predecease him. That's humorous. I mean, you know, he's wonderful, mate, but I can't even comprehend that he's gone.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, he rang me up one day some time ago and he said, will you help me do a eulogy for Paddy Berry? I said, but I was speaking to Paddy Berry the other day. Oh, he said he wants one before he died. So he did the most of it, and then he kept bringing me up and saying, what about this and what about that? And he wrote a eulogy for Paddy Berry and gave it to him. He wanted to know anybody was going to say nasty things about him, I think. Anyway, Ursula Rupp, she was the interpreter, one of the interpreters I had permanent. And amongst other things, they took me down to Varnamund. That's spelled with a W, Varnamund.
Yeah.
And it's with the training establishment for the GDR. Kids went in as boys and they came out as either qualified, not masters, qualified mates or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But they had 3 ships there. They had a conventional ship, a tanker, and a cargo ship, a box boat. And when we were there, I looked at them, and now you've got to remember this, being an old sailor, I understood what they were doing. They had trestles and 2 pieces of 4x4. And that's the way they were splicing their wire. And I said, surely you don't still do that. And they said, well, that's the only way we know how. Well, I said, you'll pardon me, comrade, but it's wrong. Have you ever heard of the smooth splice? And they said, a smooth splice? What's a smooth splice? So I explained them what it was. But I said, a smooth splice, I would be unable to teach your apprentices how to smooth splice on a piece of 4x4. As a matter of fact, if we want them done properly, I've got one in there that's half done. I don't know where the hell it is now. I sent one up to Max Woods. He didn't know how to do it, so I had to make one for him. And he married a Thai girl, you know, and he wanted to bring her down. They wouldn't let her bring him down because he was 70-something and she was 28.
Yeah.
But anyway, I smooth vice and I said, look, if I was doing this in Australia, we use what is known as a swivel vice. So naturally, you had to explain to some length what a swivel vice was. But I said, if I could get 3 or 4 or 5 swivel vices, I could probably teach 3, 6, 9, 12, and about 15 or 18 apprentices how to do the swivel vice, because I could go from vice to vice. And they said, explain to me again the swivel vice. I said, well, what you do, you clamp the standing part of the wire aloft, and then you clamp the, I get it, then you clamp the eye into the vice. Have you worked with a swivel vice?
Yeah, years ago.
Oh, years ago, well, you know what I'm talking about. Then you unclamp it and take the turns out, and you can plainly do it with your finger. And they said, oh, what a pity, we haven't got it. Now, you've got to understand, under their form of socialism, in both the Soviet Union, all those other Soviet satellites, for want of another word, and Germany, the food is simple, mainly boiled spuds and stuff like that, and remind me about the Joseph Conrad, because I got a decoration from the Polish government for that. But anyway, I said I will be able to teach them. I said, oh, what a pity. Anyway, at 4 o'clock in the morning, Ursula Rub rang up, and she said, would you be available to go down to the, I forget the name of it, but you've got to understand the ships, but the training part was up here, right? Would you be available to come down to the training ship? And I said, yes, of course. What for? And she said, oh, I think it might be a surprise. And it was a surprise, or it was just as big a surprise for her as it was for me. When we got down there, lined up on the deck was 5 swivel vices. Now, where the fuck they got them from that time? I mean, you got to realise that was 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon that we left the place, and I sailed with Jan Woblewski, and I was in the coal can, and we got Davey Blackwood and rang him up. We wanted an AB, so I rang him up, and we joined the coal can. You know, the coal can, she was hit by a Jap sub way up north, and they fixed her up, and she was underwater for a while, but they got her out and pumped the water out and all that sort of stuff, started the motors, and she went well, and Patrick's offered the government £1,000 for it, and they accepted the offer, and she ran for Patrick for 35 fucking years, at least. Was it longer than that, wasn't it?
She was running up, she was carrying passengers.
Yeah, of course she was, 12 passengers, yeah.
Up to Darwin, right?
Yeah. That's when you were in the army up there.
Oh, probably. No, it was afterwards, I think.
Isn't it? Oh, well, Darwin, mate, by Jesus. You know, I can understand why people say, why don't you write a book? Because then you can get everything into sequence. That's the whole point. I mean, I'm going from arsehole to breakfast time here. But I've told you about my grandma and all the property they owned, and we finished up with fucking nothing. Don't make a blind bit of difference. They've got 2 wonderful kids, 2 wonderful grandkids.
What you know of the industry today, or what you hear of the industry today, what do you think of it?
I wish you hadn't asked me that question.
I just did.
I think it's up the shit.
A lot of blokes will agree with you.
I think it's up the shit, and I'll tell you what's fucking wrong with that fucking IR bit. That's wrong. They don't teach them fucking nothing. And I'll tell you something fucking else, mate. What's got me fucked, on the $1,000 or $2,000 a week jobs, up down the Northwest Shelf, King Bay, Lyle Bay, or whatever they call them, you've got fucking blokes that were crew attendants, fucking firemen and stewards, all signed on as bosun. How the fucking hell can they be bosun? Ain't that sound? You're just nodding your head now. I mean, obviously you agree with me.
No, I'm shaking my head, yeah.
Shaking your head?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know how they get from stewards to bosons.
The thing that gets me, like, they, you know, when they send us down, because they said this will be the be-all, this will be the great saviour of the Australian coast. Well, I don't think it has been, because we've lost jobs left, right and centre. But 12 months after I did the IRS course, they then sent me back down to learn a job that I've fucking been bosun of 4 or 5 ships before.
Right. To learn how to do it.
It was a load of bullshit. 5 days out of the 3 weeks was interesting, and that was the intensive firefighting. The rest of it was crap.
That's right. Well, that's what I used to do when I used to teach them firefighting over at the college. George wouldn't have a bar of it. And he said, no, fuck it. Well, because I used to go up and help George when he was in the Newcastle Secondary College. Yeah. In Newcastle, when we used to be up there. And, but George was a fantastic fucking bloke, but and he was a good sailor. But as he said to me, Bill, and this is not ego talking, please don't think that. I don't know how the fucking hell you do it. He said, I've been fucking doing that for fucking years and I can't fucking do it.
Yeah.
And same with Jimmy Harvey, you see, he's got that book about Senate and Senate Turk's Head. But he never makes anything. He just makes it and just leaves it there.
Yeah.
And I said to Jim, look mate, you've got to do something with it. Now I think this says something in his room at Old Toongabbie, in the hostel, whatever you want to call it. He had one of my anchor boards and an oil painting hanging in his fucking room. You know, that, I mean, I was honoured, you know. But you see, as he said, well, you know, he said he doesn't know anybody else that can do it. I mean, incidentally, when we made the bells, you know the difference about making the bells, don't you? You don't ring the bells, you make the bells. And I'll have to tell you this, because then ego seems to be coming in, but I can assure you absolutely that it's not. It's just a statement of fact. Young James Harvey lives up at Turon Avenue up at Balcombe Hills. And next door but one, is his neighbour. And he's got a bell. Not like mine, very, very highly polished, right? So we borrowed his bell to make the bells for Jim to signify the end of his last watch. Now when they did it for Alan Allport, and like I feel, I'm not being crooked about it, Vince is going to make the bell. He went ding, ding, ding. No, ding, 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 ding. Mate, it's saying it properly. But anyway, that's not the story. The story is that the bloke that had the bell lived next door to James Jr. And a bloke walked in one day and he said, geez, that's a fantastic bell. I obviously didn't swear because you'll find out why in a minute. That's fantastic. And he said, yeah, he said, I polish it well. He said, I'm not talking about the polish and how clean the bell is. I'm talking about the bell lanyard. He said, there's only 2 men in Australia that could make a lanyard like that. And that's Jimmy Harvey and Billy Langlois. And Jim's neighbour said to the bloke, do you know Jim Harvey? He said, no, I don't know him. He said, well, that's strange because his son lives next door.
Yeah.
Now, the bloke that made the comment was the master mariner. Isn't that strange? Well, I'll show you. You've never seen him here. You know, you've got 3 legs and you've got holes and you've got weights going down the middle.
Yeah.
And there's a mile of them here, all different types, you see. But I've never ever finished them off.
How long ago did you do them?
20 years
That's
ago.
unusual. I've never seen this type before, mate.
Right?
This one,
I'm full of amazement, mate. Full of amazement. The only 2 of them, those 2, you make them on a dolly. You've got bits of lead on this side on the thingamajigs and a big counterbalance through the middle.
Yeah.
And you push them over and that's what makes
I've
the...
never seen ridges on
Yeah.
You've seen one of them before.
Not that time. It's not with the ridges on the top.
Oh, right. Oh, well, I can't make another because I gave my stuff away. Now all that needs to do, I've got to just put Turk's heads on there and that's it. There's that little table tennis ball in there.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen one of them before, neither.
Yeah, it's unusual. I wish I'd got one of them.
Well, I can't make you another one now because you got a bell at home.
No, I have not a bell.
Well, I made you. You've got anchor boards and knot boards and.
First, I used to make them for presents. I'd give them away as presents.
Yeah, I know. After I've made them, yeah.
Oh, sure. I couldn't give away before you made them.
Right, leave me going. What was that? Me tree, I hit.
Yeah.
What colours do you like? Like Henry Ford said. He said, "Oh, it's a wonderful car, that Model T of yours, Mr. Ford. What colours they come in?" He said, "You can have any colour you like as long as it's fucking black." Blue and white one suit you?
Thanks, mate.
You've got some of these, haven't you?
No.
What do you want?
Red, white and blue. The Aussie colours. No, the Aussie.
Seaman Union colours.
No, the
Blue and white.
Green and white, Irish.
Yeah.
I'm out of colours, that's the trouble.
This is not part of that 200 and
No.
whatever it was for the old man.
258. No, that wasn't for your father, that was for the museum.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a lot. He's got the bell ropes and the anchor boards and the knot boards. And he said, "Fuck you, Langlois." He said, "Every time I put your stuff," he said, "you put my fucking work to shame."
No, that's beautiful, that stuff you've done up there, mate. That's grouse.
Well, listen, we try.
Yeah,
We try.
it is grouse.
I was telling you about Orport. And I was convinced, and now anyway, because he's gone, that he really thought that I was going to predecease him. Because he said, "What can I say about you, Bill?" I said, "Say about me, you've fucking known me for over fucking 50 years. All you got to say, he went to sea at 13, he was a blockade runner in the Spanish Civil War, he did 3 Russian fucking convoys, and he tried." And I said, "What do you want me to say about you?" And he said, "Oh, I'll write a bit down." So he wrote a bit down. And he'd only got before he went to fucking sea, when he was working on the fucking railways at Coffs Harbour. 8 pages. And he said, "You know the rest, Bill."
Yeah.
And then Kate, his daughter, said, "Oh, gee, we went, and I threw it away. I didn't think I'd ever fucking need it again."
Yeah.
But that's, you know, my son, he lives up in Kalanga, up in Queensland.
Yeah.
And he wanted his grandfather's medals, my dad. And he got a military medal in the First World War at the Somme. And he wore them on Anzac Day a couple of years ago. And of course, you know, you wear that on the right side if they're not your own.
Yeah.
And his local club was the RSL and Bowling Club or whatever. And they all come up from the club, or 2 or 3 of them anyway, and they said, "Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, we want that." And he said, "You fucking what? You're not going to fucking get this. These are my granddads." And he said, "When I'm finished with them, they're going to my daughter."
Mm.
And he said, "Unless my dad wants them fucking first." And I said, "Well, I've got a couple." But, you know, things remind you. I was at Dunkirk, and that's the strangest part about it. How many people know about this?
Keep talking, but I'm going to try something different.
Yeah, speak talking. You're going to come closer.
Yeah, that's better now, because with the lights going, it's showing up all right. But go on, keep talking.
Right. I was in the stack of bricks, not Dock Street, the one at Connaught Road. That's the Mission. For those that don't know, you probably wouldn't know that, would you? Stack of bricks. No. Connaught Road shipping office, and the pub used to be there. And Dunkirk was taking place. and there was a ship called the Merchant Prince tied up in the Royal Albert Dock. They're what they call the Royal Docks. Royal Albert, Royal George, Royal Connaught and all that sort of jazz, you know. And they're different from the ones we've been speaking about before, the Southeast India Docks, is way upriver. And there was an unmanned vessel called the Merchant Prince. She wasn't all that big. But somebody came down to either to the Stack of Bricks or to the Connaught pub and says, any engineers, any of this, and that, they were calling out. Now, she wasn't shut down completely, but she had no crew. And within, much less than 5 hours, we'd manned the Merchant Prince, got her started up down the river and over to Dunkirk and brought back as many as we could. Now, whether that's in any history books, I don't know. I mean, anything you hear, they're all little rowboats and everything. But the Merchant Prince was a 6,000 ton ship, and we just went on fucking, we pinched the fucking thing. I don't know what happened to her afterwards, but we brought our whack back and we said, well, that's enough, that's a fucking whack. But you see, recently I had my grandnephew out here, a great young fella. I'd never seen him. He's my sister's daughter's son, and he's a 6-year Royal Marine veteran. And we were talking about Dunkirk, but specifically we're talking about Normandy. And I said, well, you know, Chris, you know, sometimes we were taking them over, the squaddies, and the things on the ship that I was in that the squaddies were more scared of than anything else was going up and down the fucking scrambling nets.
Yeah.
And I felt like a fucking, you know, that fucking sheep that fucking led them to whatever, to slaughter, whatever.
Yeah, the Judas sheep.
Judas sheep, yeah. As they come and I said, it's fucking easy like this, and I went up and down the fucking, the scrambling net, two or three times, and they said, oh, fucking thank Christ, mate. And then the Yankee, oh mate, they can fucking handle them things, them fucking young, by Jesus, they were good. And they steer like that. Yeah. Not that way, like this. Oh mate, it's good. But I can remember 2 young blokes. And I don't know how we had time to look up, but they looked up at the Lancs going over. And one said to the other young bloke, said to the other young bloke, he said, geez, I always wish I was up there with them. And I said, what are you fucking talking about? And I said, fucking 50 or 60% of them are not going to be fucking having tea at home tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
They're gone. You've got a chance. Shut your mouth and sling your fucking... Now, when you talk about that, you know, Utah. Do you know anything about the beaches, Utah and Omaha? And Omaha Beach, the Yanks lost 10,000 men in 3 days. At Utah, they lost about 105.
1,000 or just 105?
105. Yeah. But then the Poms and the Canadians, they were down the gold, silver, Mick, Juno.
You know who had the greatest amount of casualties on D-Day?
What was that?
French civilians.
Oh, of course, naturally. They were in the way. They were in the way. But hey, listen, we lost a few too. We lost a few too. You know, and that's, that get back to the thing that, you know, Anzac Day, well, you know I play a role in Anzac Day and have done for, I've been doing the one up to school for 15 years. Both my children went there and my grandchildren went there too. But when you talk about the facts of Anzac Day seems to me to be a bit misplaced. Now, I'm not being critical of the squaddies, make no mistake about that. But do you ever hear around the corner, 28,000 British, French and Indian troops were killed. The same day that our few thousand got killed.
Mm.
But do you ever hear anybody talk about that?
No.
No. It takes the glamour off of Anzac Day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And once again, that I'm not. The squatters were doing the job. That's it. And they were doing the job they were sent home. That's why I was totally opposed to the Vietnam War and the Korean War, and made my voice very well known, but not against the squatters.
Yeah. No, that's true.
They were sent up to do a job.
Yeah.
They were in the army. That's it. Same with him. If he'd have been in the army and done it, he'd have had to go.
Yeah.
Or he'd have had to piss off, whatever.
That's where in the moratoriums and that, a lot of the radicals and that was wrong what they were doing to the bloody soldiers and that, because
mate,
it was bullshit. We're against the war.
That blood bit coming down George Street, if I'd have been there, I'd have fucking strangled them.
Yeah.
But, you see, once again, they had no idea how to go about it.
That's right, yeah.
That's the problem.
Mm.
But you see, with people like us, and Alan more than likely, us, we'd had experience of it. We've had experience of war.
Yeah.
And as I call it, the real war.
Yeah, not all them bullshit ones they've had ever since, yeah.
Well, I don't know about bullshit ones, mate. The Yanks, the hegemony of the United States of America. And then listen, that didn't start yesterday. That started hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, all this crap about being worried about Fidel Castro in Cuba. How many other people know that Admiral, whatever his name was, leased a naval base in Guantanamo?
No, that's right, yeah.
That's on the northern tip of Cuba.
Yeah.
100-year lease. The lease rang out 4 years ago and they haven't paid the money.
Yeah.
But so, if they had a naval base on Cuba, what sort of a threat was Cuba to the US of A?
That's right, yeah.
Doesn't that make sense?
I see they released the secret papers on Castro on that, on their
Oh, it was I saw it in the telly, yeah.
On their all their schemes on how to kill him and everything like that.
Yeah.
We released it and we had it 40 odd years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Poison scars and cigars. But the same with that one about the ships that were sunk off the coast. The Seaman Journal put it in the front page of the journal.
Mm.
You've seen that, haven't you?
Yeah. Two of the blokes we interviewed one was on the Iron Knight and the other one was on the Coastal Farmer. Joe Miller.
I know Joe Miller. Yeah,
Joe was on the Coastal Farmer. He's another one we interviewed. I got an urgent phone call from some comrade saying, "You better get up and get this bloke. He's 93, you know."
He's 91, 99 now.
94.
94. Yeah. I only did him a couple of months ago.
Good bloke. He used to love arguing with Elliot.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
And he always used to refer to the Communist CPA, the Communist Party of Australia, the comical party. And he paid me the supreme compliment some time ago at Anzac Day. He said, but not you, Billy. He said, you're one of the fucking fair dinkum one. But he was totally anti-red, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, he was anti-red. Yeah.
He lives in the Masonic village in Berry.
That's right. That's
south
right.
of Kembla, Kiama.
Yeah, talking about the Masonic village, you know, we had a skipper on the coast named Coconut Bill Wilding.
Yeah. Heard about him, but I never...
Well, he used to catch fish.
Burns Philp, wasn't he?
Yeah, Burns Philp, yeah. But he used to get fish, all little tiny fish, and at Taronga Park Zoo, donated by Captain W.W. Wilding.
Yeah.
Now, he was a Barnardo's boy from the east end of London.
Yeah.
But when they go to Port Moresby, on Thursdays in particular, there would be Bill Wilding staggering up the wharf, going to his mason's turnout. You mentioned this.
Yeah.
And behind him would come a couple of the mates. Then there would be a couple of the engineers. But up front there would have been Les Murphy, because he had 18 degrees.
Yeah.
Right? You buy them actually. But anyway,
And that wasn't his real name anyway, was it?
what was his real
Les
name?
Murphy. Les Murphy.
Yeah. I mean, all this shit about the Polish. His first ship to sea was a Polish ship.
Yeah.
But he was born in Waterford.
Oh, right. The old man always reckoned he was a Pole. That was his right name.
He was born in Waterford.
Yeah.
In the Irish Republic.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah. His name was Murphy.
Yeah.
But everybody said that he was but that was his first ship.
Oh, right.
It was a Polish ship.
Yeah.
Oh man. Look, everybody was going crook about Murphy, but I knew lots of things he did. When he was out at, what's his name, his son-in-law, or not his son-in-law, his nephew worked for a real estate and he had a farm. He used to look after the farm out there, but then he moved out to Mount Druitt. School kids and nurses. Cost me a lot of money. He'd make tab nabs and stuff like that and take them up to school. Take them out to the hospital. Things nobody ever knew about Murphy. Right? Good bloke.
He was in Kyogle for a while.
Oh, yes, right. But people were crooked on him. Your father was crooked on him. If he was crooked on him, he said if they'd known it, they would have got a bulldozer down and fucking taken his farm down. But and I said to your father, Frank, I said, look, mate, you don't understand. He said, I know, I understand. I said, yes. I said, there's a lot of fucking jealousy with a few blokes there too.
Yeah.
I said, but not you, of course. Seeing as I owe you 40 fucking fathom a fucking 4-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, when you talk to him, give him so tell him I said to say hello, will you?
Oh, will do. Well, you're saying it here anyway.
Oh, well. G'day, Frank. And you're never going to get that fucking robe anyway.
That's about 4 times you've told him. I think he's got the message.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, because I had the problem with white ants. And that's over there, that's where my garage was. And we lost the garage to white ants. And I've never had the wherewithal to build another garage. So everything was in there. And I gave, you've got no idea the stuff I gave away.
Frank didn't send his white ants down in retribution for you getting his bloody 40 fathom of
No. Did he have white ants up there too?
Mate, got them all the time up there, yeah.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they did. It cost me $1,500 to get this done.
Yeah.
And then I cladded it. I was ashamed of the fucking place because my house being lived in by an old bosun, I used to paint the fucking thing once every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
How long have you been here, Bill?
43 years. Bloke across the road, he said, you can always tell when somebody's going to win the lotto in Layla Park. There'll be the removal vans there in the next morning. And I said, well, I got fucking news for you, son. It's the first house I ever fucking built and paid for. And it's the only way they're going to get me out of here is in a fucking box. with or without 23 million. And if I've got it, I'll make a lot of people very happy, but I'll make a fucking lot of people very unhappy. Well, what are we going to do next? What do you want to talk about now? Well, I can't make you one of them, Alan, because I've when Jimmy died, we put all the stuff away. Now that's about it, Mortimer. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He must have thought of something.
I was in a place called Cure. Now you know where Cure is?
No, you're about to tell us.
Yeah, well, it's the major naval port for Japan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, gotcha.
And just up the road there's Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And I was in a Liberty boat. And the starboard halyard had come out of the sheave. And the mate said, I want the halyard reef through that sheave. And I said, well, look, there's a yard up there. What do you think? I'm going to fucking balance out and fucking bend down and fucking put it through. I said, if you think that, you've got fucking think coming. We've got to fucking fix it up some other way. Anyway, we were there for a while, and on Cure, they've got a big crane. I don't know whether it's permanently fixed or whether it can move a bit here and there. 480 ton crane, which is a fairly big fairly big crane. That's it. So I went in the store and got the halyard out, and I went up to the Japanese driver. Now, he had no English, I had no Japanese, but we made ourselves understood. So the hook would be as big as that.
Yeah.
Right? 480 ton. And I've got the chair on the bottom of the hook, and I'm going up with the halyard tied round my waist. I'm going up, and he magnificent the way it was coming, just that far away from the spar, the yard. And down we go. And I'm halfway down, and I thought to myself, fucking Jesus. Langlois, you're fucking mad. Fucking 4 months ago, you were killing these poor bastards. Now he got you hanging fucking 60 feet up in the fucking hill on the fucking end of a fucking crane. Anyway, I got down and said thank you. Yeah. I went straight aboard and got a fucking whole carton, 2 cartons of Lucky Strike.
Yeah.
Took it, oh mate, he thought these fucking all these days of all this summer to come at once. But I don't know how.
So was it in 45, was it? 46?
I was there 4 or 5 months after they dropped the bomb.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this. I don't know how they didn't fucking kill us. If you'd have seen the fucking, oh mate, Hiroshima was, I never got to Nagasaki. But except for the place where above the blast, that steeple there, that was there. Everything else was absolutely fucking flat. Everything. Not a fucking thing standing.
Yeah.
You'll wonder why the Japanese
didn't kill us.
It's like I wonder about the tolerance of the Vietnamese people today.
Oh well, there you are. There you are. I mean, there was a TV story, and they were talking about how many casualties, and this yank was saying, oh well, we're 58,000. That's what they lost, but they didn't mention the 3.5 fucking million Vietnamese, and we've still got blokes down here dying.
Yeah, that's right.
From the Agent Orange.
Yeah. I got a book at home called Shakedown, I think it's called. I forget now. And he countdown to Hiroshima was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was saying in it that right up until the minute they pressed the button which let the bomb go, one of the scientists who was the main designer of the bomb was getting up a petition to try and stop them from doing it. And that was the bloke who designed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you see, Wayne, it's strange, yet not strange you should mention that. But don't forget there was 3 bombs made.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one was going on Moscow, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, they had the third one there ready, yeah.
Big man, fat man, and the other one.
I've never heard of that.
Didn't you know? It's true.
They're 3 ready to go.
True, yeah. But, and now we're going to say something else, and that's the trouble with my fucking, it's not my memory, just as well I haven't got your hat on. Good God, geez, you're a bit wealthy round the head. And I was going to mention, oh, Wayne, you've got no idea. And I'll be down, you see, where that's my workshop. And quite frequently, I'll have to go in and get something. Now, I've got a fairly long hallway.
You forgot it before you got down the other end?
And you know what I have to do? I have to walk up and fucking down until I remember what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. But,
and you leave notes, have you read them?
We've got
notes, so there's no queue for
we've
it.
got up here, they all call me Sailor.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love talking to them, because I love talking.
Yeah. Well, we would never have guessed that. We've only been going for nearly 3 and a bit hours.
And we haven't spoken, there's still a hell of a lot we haven't even touched on yet.
That's right.
Oh, well, we better give it a go, I think. Where's me, what's his name? Oh, no. One of the first federal boats I was in was the Norfolk. a federal boat, and she was ex-Westerstrom, a German prize of war from World War One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When were you in her?
That, right out the beginning of the war.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill.
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
Now, just hang on a second. Now, in those, when you're in your forecastle forward, you got your cable coming down with the anchor. And they bang. So you'd lash them together to stop the noise. As long as somebody remembered before.
Take the lashings off.
That happened a couple of times, but they didn't. They forgot about it. Now, sorry, Al, yeah.
Remember the mad events of that week in Singapore and we laid up the Liverpool?
Yeah, I remember. Well, we told you about. We've talked about the.
No, Bielaguski, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. You reckon he was a Bielaguski? I don't think he was.
No, Alan reckons he was.
Yeah, Alan did. Yeah. We were up in Singapore, and I started talking, or I think it was me. Started talking to a man with a beard, not bad looking bloke, and a decent Sheila. And you remember the thing that happened around the West Bielaguski? Was it in the West, wasn't it?
No, it was here. It was Mrs. Petrov.
Oh, Mrs. Petrov, that's right, yeah. Bielaguski. And Alan reckoned it was Bielaguski, but I wrote him, but I never got a letter back from him.
Yeah.
Oh, it was here.
Yeah.
So, for some reason, they must have thought that the Liverpool and Singapore was going to be some kind of strategic spy centre or something.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely being the local police, and that, they were keeping an eye on us.
Oh, yeah, for
We
sure.
spent 7 days there.
And the copper soldiers did
And longer, because a goonie bird flew into the plane of the engine of the plane.
Yeah.
So we had to stay for another night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goonie bird. Oh, Hardy Lee and what was the other guys? Hardy Lee. Oh, mate. Oh, we had a pretty good time up there, there's no doubt about that. But I don't recollect getting fucking pissed. I was probably pissed, but I don't recollect. I don't recollect being unhealthy the next day or whatever. We all sat down one day. Mal Cameron, him, I forget their name now, Alan Port. And I ordered them a frog's legs.
Ooh.
And when they come over, they put them on sort of a spinach.
Yeah, they taste all right too, don't they?
Oh, I love them. And snails.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't cop the snails. I had the frog's legs, but.
Anyway, what happened was they come out in a big dish.
Was this at People's Park?
The cricket part, no, People's Park, no. I don't know where's People's Park.
In Chinatown.
No. Yeah, I know where People's
yeah,
Park is, yeah. No. Oh, another story there too, but anyway. While we're sitting down, they're all round the table, and one bloke like Mal Cameron or somebody said, "Oh, gee, they're fantastic. What were they?" I said, "You just eaten my fucking frog legs." I said, "Well, they're fucking beautiful, aren't they?"
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, all these frogs must have been weightlifters. They had size on them like you wouldn't believe.
They were like chicken wings,
They're the biggest frogs of all time.
Oh, they're beautiful.
No, you try to get them to eat them.
I tried. The third mate on the Oscar
Paddy.
was eating them.
They call that paddy chicken.
Yeah.
They call them in Singapore. Paddy chicken. Paddy melon, paddy chicken, whatever. But I love the snails. And when you have them in Singapore, they come out in a tray that big. Right round, oh, mate. Fucking scoff them, mate. Jesus. But I can't mind missus is. I love to go over, you know. But I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Although I'd have to do it on my own. I wouldn't do that. Not, however. That's life, ain't it?
That's his life. Such is life.
Life gets tedious, don't it?
Yeah. Such is life.
Well, I was on what was her name? She was a film star on the Gloucester Castle. And she asked the way up one of the main passenger thing there. Oh, what was her name? And she gave me a kiss on the only a young boy. God, what was her name? Good God! I'm fucking going. Fuck this. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I haven't got me. If I had me, what's his name? I'd make you one out. But seeing as you haven't got a bell, I'll do you one equally as well.
What is your bell from?
Eastern Enterprise.
Eastern Enterprise, oh yeah. Another story.
Oh yeah, another story, yeah. We picked her up. Because you see, you've got to understand, there was a bloke on the coast and he and I sailed together when he was the young third mate. And his name was John Evans. And he finished up as an extra master. I finished up as a bosun for 40 odd years. And he finished up as Chief General Manager of Howard Smith Industries, Proprietary Inc.
Yeah.
Oh, but never lost the common touch. Come to our funerals, for mine, yeah. But anyway, the Eastern Enterprise. That wasn't her name. Another name was. Let me go and have a look. The bosun.
Yeah.
Lived aft, right over the poop deck. And there was the bosun's cabin, bosun's store, shipwright, carpenter's store. There was some other stuff down here, I don't know who it was. But anyway, I pinched the bell from the folks led of the Caldex Sydney too. Reggie Reid finished up with that one. Oh mate, you know where that hill used to be at Howard Smith's?
Mm-hmm.
Oh mate, I carried it up. Oh, fucking Jesus Christ. But anyway, we joined the vessel. And she was in a bit of a mess and we started cleaning her up. And John Evans said, well, you know, I know you can do it, so you fix it up. Mine did 2 trips, I think. Anyway, I'm down into the chippy shop. And I said, what's that? It's in a big box. And he said, that's the old bell. I said, oh yeah. He said, 2 engineers have pinched it. And they're leaving it in here for me to look after. And I said, oh, well, that's good. I said, don't leave your door open. Anyway, he did leave his fucking door open. And there it is. I had 4 up there.
Yeah.
I had 1 with the Ballard I gave out to young Jimmy Harvey because his dad, Jimmy Harvey, did 7 years on the Ballard and 15 years as bosun of the Empress.
Yeah. Yeah.